Good morning, Bill. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for joining us. If at any time you need to leave, just let us know, please.
Thank you.
All of a sudden, oh, he does kind of, yes, totally. He said you kind of look like a priest. Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this council meeting on Wednesday, April 3rd. I will call the meeting to order at 9 a.m. sharp, and I'll ask everyone to stand for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. At all this world that he never will. As one, stand on. Canada, we stand on. Stand on.
We'll jump into the agenda this morning. Are there any additions to the agenda?
From administration.
Okay, any from council? None. Is there a member of council that would like to adopt the agenda as presented? Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. All in favor? In favor, Bill? Any corrections or amendments to the March 6, 2024 regular meeting of council minutes? Is there a member of council that would like to adopt the March 6, 2024 regular meeting of council minutes? Thank you very much, Councillor McGee. All in favor? That is carried. We have no proclamations this morning, but we do have a public hearing. Public hearing, Ms. Thompson, are you going to be presenting this?
Just available for comments.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. I will declare the public hearing opened at 9:03 a.m. It is for borrowing bylaw 2024-01F for the purpose of rebuilding 50th Avenue, as well as borrowing bylaw 2024-02F for the purpose of connecting the water treatment plant to the distribution network. Those present today are myself, council, administration, members of the public, and those online. The purpose of the public hearing today is to receive comments and concerns, questions from the public in regard to upgrading 50th Avenue and connecting the water treatment plant to the distribution network. The above bylaws received first reading at the February 21st, 2024 regular meeting of council, and they may receive second and third reading today, depending on the comments received at this public hearing. Notification of the bylaw requesting comments from the public and advising them of a public hearing has been provided through and in accordance accordance with the Town of Drayton Valley Bylaw 2018-07A, and that is our electronic advertising bylaw. To facilitate the public hearing process, any comments received, whether that is written or verbal, will be presented and included in our package that everyone has. I will now call for comments from anyone from the floor this morning. No comments. I will now call for any comments or written submissions that we've received.
Administration received no written or telephone inquiries about this, no comments whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. And I'll now call for comments from anyone online. Doesn't look like we have any comments. I will then declare the public hearing closed at 9:04 a.m. Thank you very much, Ms. Thompson. That is it for our public hearing. We do have delegations. I'm not seeing the RCMP here this morning. They're coming, right? Oh, okay. So they didn't confirm if they would, were they at our last council meeting? Oh, so they should be, typically they come, yeah. Okay, well, maybe what I'll do is, rather than going over them, looks like we have a 13% decrease for our total criminal code offenses, and then 10% increase from WAD municipal crime gauge. We'll circle back if Staff Sergeant Troy joins us this morning. I'll jump into our decision items. The first up is 9.1, which is the Town of Drayton Valley Borrowing Bylaw 2024-01F, presented for second and third reading. Ms. Thompson.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
As per the 2024 capital budget, the attached proposed borrowing bylaw 2024-01F is for the purpose of rebuilding 50th Avenue. The entire project is budgeted at 6.6 million, of which the 1.69 will be debentured. The remaining will be funded by the CCBF, previously known as the Federal Gas Tax Fund, and MSI. The current interest rate for a 20-year debenture is 5.12. The total interest cost over the lifetime of this debenture would be just over $1 million, and the annual loan payments will be $135,000 with an approximate 1.08% impact on taxes. But just a comment that we'll be applying for this debenture likely in the fall. Hopefully we can wait till the fall for that cash flow to come in, just to see. We are expecting interest rates to come down a little bit, so we'll wait for as long as we can to make sure that we're capitalizing on the best interest possible. And yeah, we can, because we did the first reading and had the advertising period and the public hearing, we can do second and third reading today.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions for administration on this bylaw this morning? Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
So just with respect to this, what is it, 1.679? Is there any risk of that moving one way or another? Or if we don't get some sort of funding or anything like that, would we have to debenture anymore, or is this a very finite number and this is what we get or what we need?
Yeah, the 1.6 would be reduced if we got funding. Yeah. Yeah, this is the amount, as long as we don't have, like, this is the budgeted amount, everything else is already funded. 1.6 is what we have to be funded right now. As far as I know, yeah, we did apply for a grant, but I'm not sure, Shelley. Yeah. So yeah, we did the whole amount because we have to create the borrowing bylaw before we start on phase 2 of this project for which we're borrowing. So we have to do the borrowing bylaw now. If we get funding, then we would simply apply for less in the actual application of the debenture.
Go ahead, Councillor Gamana.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm just wondering, Elvira, regarding the interest rates, right now it's in a all-time high. I was wondering how's the debenture works in the sense, if the interest go down, let's say in 5-6 years or in few years, is there a option that we may be able to negotiate that or get another debenture and pay this off, or, some kind of a mechanism?
Unlikely that we can renegotiate. And I've never seen that happen where I don't know where we would debenture from, like,
Right.
with better, yeah, I don't think so. But, I've never seen it happen, but maybe with interest being high and other municipalities being in the same boat, maybe Alberta Capital Finance will change some of its, regulations. But right now, that's not possible.
Okay, thank you.
But I will look into that more and put the bug in their ear just to see, but yeah. Usually their fines are pretty big when you pay something out early even and stuff, yeah, unfortunately.
Okay.
Any other questions? Is there a member of council that would like to make a motion for a second reading this morning? Oh, Councillor Sheriff?
I'll make a motion that council give second reading to propose borrowing bylaw 2024-01F as presented in report, hashtag air 24-093.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? There's none, then I'll ask all in favor.
In favor.
Bill, thank you very much. That is carried. And I'm now needing a member of council to give third and final reading. Councillor Evans, did you want to do that? Thank you.
I'll make the motion that council give third and final reading to proposed borrowing bylaw 2024-01F as presented in report hashtag AIR-24-093.
Thank you for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion for third and final reading? I'll ask all in favor.
In favor.
Thank you, Bill. That is carried. And that wraps up that bylaw this morning. And we'll move on to the next one, which is the Town of Drayton Valley Borrowing Bylaw 2024-02F presented for second and third reading. And this is Ms. Thompson as well.
Awesome. As per the 2024 capital budget, the attached proposed borrowing bylaw 2024-02F is for the purpose of connecting the water treatment plant to the distribution network. The project is currently budgeted for 3.6 million, of which 2.3 will be debentured and the remaining be funded by MSI. And the same as the previous bylaw, we are also applying for grants for this one. But the same holds true for having to have the bylaw in place before we break ground, although I don't know exactly where we're at with that, but we had expected it to be in the spring, so that's why this debenture bylaw had to come forward now. So we're really, hopeful, I guess, that we will be getting some grants to offset some of the debenture costs here. But just currently, this is what we need to fund for this project. And this one is a longer debenture. The life of this infrastructure will be longer, so it'd be a longer term borrowing, and the interest rate slightly higher than the 20-year. And so the total interest over the lifetime of this debenture would be 2.3 million. The annual loan payments will be 156,000 with a 1.25% impact on taxes. And again, I just want to comment on the paying off debentures early and such. And I don't know which section of the MGE, but I don't think it's allowed. And part of the reason too for debenturing is that, one of the reasons to debenture is for cash flow problems, or not problems, just cash flow, to assist in cash flow, but also to balance which the resident that's benefiting from that is the one that's paying for it. So if you like for the pool, for example, we have for 25 years from now, those residents will still be enjoying that pool. And so they will be helping pay for that pool that's being used. And so part of the reason to debenture is that idea as well, as balancing the impact to the residents that are partaking in that benefit. Which is also a reason why there are some strict guidelines around debenturing and stuff. But either way, I will be always looking out for that kind of stuff to make it more manageable.
Thank you for that. Any questions on this bylaw? Go ahead, Councillor Evans.
We have a few things that need to kind of fall into place before we can kind of push this through. Are we looking at waiting on this as well, or do we need to have this money in place right away? Just wondering about the lower, I'm looking at the same thing you were, that they're saying we're going to see some rate cuts here this year sometime.
When we were planning this year, the projects and everything like that, at that time, we had expected, or I guess planned on starting the project in the spring, late spring or early summer. And so we're bringing this forward for that reason. I know that some things have changed. And so my suggestion would be to put this in place, and then we don't have to do it when we do actually need the money. So that way it's in place. I can do the application when we need. And so we can wait a little bit for this one, maybe definitely longer than 50th, because 50th we know we know we're going forward. So yeah.
And if the scope of the project changes, like we're needing to build up more of the right of way or the road or something like that, how does that affect then the numbers?
Like if
Will you need
you're
to come back, or?
For more, if you want more,
Yeah.
yes. We don't have to come back if we need less, but if we would need more, we'd have to re-advertise it.
Okay, and you talked a little bit about grants. Do you have any particular grants in mind for this project?
AMWIP, I believe.
AMWIP?
AMWIP, yeah. Alberta.
Okay, yeah, and is there a deadline, like how, are we? Oh, we already applied. Okay, so this one,
You're just waiting for.
okay, this is the one. Or I thought you said something about other funding that we were gonna look for.
No, just the AMWIP.
Just
I mean, if that one falls through, then we would pursue whatever else.
Okay,
We've looked at, I know Councillor Evans had brought up Water for Life and stuff. And so we were just looking at any possible thing, but we have a current application in place.
okay. If there's no other questions, is there a member of council who'd like to make a motion for first reading? Councillor Evans?
Just a quick question first. We did look at Water for Life. I know it's a stretch because that's generally pushing water to another jurisdiction, but I guess ultimately we are across the highway there, but that didn't fly. Yeah. Okay. And that's generally what Water for Life finances, is regional pipelines and stuff. We're just trying to make the argument that we're pushing it across the highway eventually, so maybe but that was a stretch. Okay,
Can I just ask a question?
yes.
With the AMWIP grant, can you stack that? Okay.
Typically, the gas tax and MSI are stackable with almost any other grant.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of they're not necessarily for a specific project. We can use them for any project. So that for sure I'm pretty sure we can stack them against that, but maybe not AMWIP and
Something else.
MSI and something else.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I'll make the motion that council gives second reading to proposed borrowing bylaw 2024-02F as presented in report hashtag AIR 24-094.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? If not, then I'll ask all in favor.
In favor.
That is carried, and I'm needing a member of council to give third and final reading. Thank you very much, Councillor Clark.
Yes, I move that council give third and final reading to proposed borrowing bylaw 2024-02F as presented in report AIR 24-094.
Thank you. Any comment, question, debate on that? None, then I'll ask all in favor.
In favor.
That is carried. Thank you very much, Ms. Thompson. Moving along the agenda, we have Ms. Stone for 9.3, which is our public consultation and communication policy, A0417. Good morning.
Good morning, Council. Policy A0417 was originally approved in 2017 to meet the requirements of Section 216.1 in the MGA and has been updated to include the following changes. Circumstances in which a public participation plan will be developed, public participation plan requirements, including minimum requirements, and reporting and evaluation criteria. In addition to the policy, Appendix A was also developed to support administration in completing these plans. To note, this policy does not modify or replace the statutory public hearing requirements that are set out in the MGA. Public consultation policy A0417 was presented to Council during the March 13th Governance and Priorities Committee meeting and is being presented today for a decision. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions for Ms. Stone? No? If there's no questions, is there a member of council that'd like to make a motion? Councilor Sheriffs?
I'll make a motion that council approves public consultation and communications policy A0417 as defined in report Air 24083.
Thank you for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? I'll ask all in favor.
In favor.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank
And
you,
that is
Council.
carried. Thank you. Quick. Next up is 9.4. Ms. Shelley Terry is CP 419 Trail Upgrade Locations.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and members of council. In 2021, we submitted a grant application to Infrastructure Canada for the Active Transportation Fund Improving Community Connections. And we found out we were successful in 2022. This grant included doing the following work: West Valley Trail upgrades, 1,516 meters of trails at a cost of $803,480 or $530 per linear meter of upgrading the current 1.5 meter wide trail to 3 meters in width. Peace Park Trail, 40 meters, converting a sidewalk into asphalt trail at 3 meters in width at a cost of $21,200 or $530 per linear meter. DeBee Park Trails, 244 meters, converting a sidewalk into an asphalt trail at 3 meters in width at a cost of $129,320 or $530 per linear meter. And 4 controlled crossings at a cost of $40,000. In 2023, we went out to RFQ for West Valley Trails and Peace Park Trails, and the final price came in under the $530 per linear meter at a cost of $295 per linear meter. In result, our total cost to complete West Valley Trails and Peace Park Trails came in at a cost of $534,855.72, and not what was projected at the time we applied for the grant, which was $824,680. Total cost to date spent on the ATF grant is $574,855.72. This includes controlled crossings. ATF covers 60% of this cost at $344,913.43. After discussions with Infrastructure Canada on how we could utilize the entire amount funded, as the costs projected were not as high as we anticipated, it was stated that we could apply for a scope change. There are, however, limitations on what we can request for a scope change. As stated by Infrastructure Canada, we cannot move our project limits to anywhere we want to within town limits. The scope change would have to be a continuation of one of the locations we have been approved to work on. The scope change would also have to follow the requirements of the Improving Community Connections by enhancing the safety factor of our trails, the trails we work on. So our proposal is that administration has submitted a scope change to Infrastructure Canada for the below scope. Administration is proposing that we continue the upgrading of Peace Park Trails in the following locations indicated in red on the below map. The reason we believe this to be the best location is that the walking trail that was installed in 2023, the 40-meter stretch in blue on the above map, is 3 meters in width, and the existing trail that we are proposing to upgrade with the remainder of the grant is only 2 meters in width. This would be a good location to extend our upgrades with the grant to ensure continuity of our trails, and it also meets the requirements of a scope change that we hope to get approved. This would include enhancing 500 additional meters of at an estimated cost of $201,737. During 2023 budget deliberation, council was undecided about completing the portion of trails approved for DeBee Park within the grant as indicated in red in the below map. After discussions with Infrastructure Canada, if we do not complete this portion of trails, we will lose the grant funding and it cannot be allocated in a different trail location. The total projected cost to complete this portion of trail is estimated at $76,860, but was approved through the grant at a cost of $129,320. Administration is looking for council direction on approving the scope change and completing trail upgrades into Bee Park and extending our scope of work in Peace Park for a total estimated cost of $234,360. This amount will be absorbed in the remaining 2023 budget CP 419. This is contingent on Infrastructure Canada's approving the submitted scope change request. Risks, if we do not complete the scope change or the scope of work into Bee Park, we will lose that grant funding. And the scope of work, and if the scope of work is denied by ATF or the scope change is denied by ATF, we will be unable to use the remainder of the grant. So recommendation is that council approves the proposed trail upgrades into Bee Park and Peace Park for an estimated cost of $234,360 to be paid of the remaining CP 419 budget as outlined in report AIR 2408. And I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you very much for that. And any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Any question? So DeBee Lands, I know when we come in off 47th Avenue, there's a trail on the north side of 47th, but it just ends, just stops. And we had talked about potentially extending that through potentially maybe the trees and connecting up with the existing pathway in there.
Right.
Is that an option?
The cost will be a lot larger to build. Yeah. So, I mean, it's an option on, we didn't go that way with the scope change just because of what their requirements are in there. So we kind of had to follow kind of their guidelines on what we could do and where we could do it.
Any other questions? Okay, so I just have a couple. So for the first proposal, the scope change for Peace Park Trails, the enhancing the 500 additional meters would be an estimated cost of $201,737. So that's the total, like ATF covers 60% of that?
Yes, correct.
So ATF will cover 60% of the 201?
Yes, they'll cover the 60% of the total cost that I'm talking about. So the impact to our budget will only be $93,744.
Okay, okay. Oh, it's right there.
Yeah.
And then so the DeBee Lands, the total project cost to complete this portion is estimated at 76, but they've approved the grant for 129. So how does that work? They're at the 60%.
So we could look to try to get another scope change and extend our grant to 2025 if we come under that. But so because we know that our projected costs were a lot less and it doesn't look like they're going to be much higher this season, that if we don't do DeBee Park, they estimate that we're doing it at 129,000. So we'll lose 129,000 of the grant funding.
So there's extra, the project's only costing 76, they've estimated. So couldn't we tag on a portion of that like Colin was speaking to around there?
So once we actually come in with our final costs, we could look at next year doing another scope change with ATF and extending our limits within DeBee Park.
Yeah, because there seems to be an extra almost $60,000 there, right?
And
That-
we may see extras even in Peace Park. So like, I don't want to overshoot here and then go over budget. So we're kind of keeping it under. And if I can do another scope change, we will.
You will, okay. Is this something typically that you're feeling confident you should be able or could do for 2025 or?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm feeling confident, but I'm not going to say for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Any other questions, Councillor Gamano?
Thank you. I'm sure I've asked this question when you came to the first time. Wondering, when we look at the trail upgrades and all that going through this grant cycle, did we look at other areas other than the DeBee Park area that may fit the budget that you're,
So we can't, that's the problem is ATF is very strict on what you can do. So you have to continue on a trail that you've been approved for within your grant application. You can't jump to different locations. So unfortunately, I did know there's some other trails that needed some more attention rather than the Peace Park. It is in rough shape in some spots, but there's other trails like out front of the schools, and I thought we could maybe move the money to there, but we can't. They won't allow
I'm
it.
asking before the grant,
Yeah.
you know, before we apply to the grant. maybe-
I wasn't the one that applied for the grant at the time, so I don't know kind of what the theory was behind that application. So
Right, okay, thank you.
And what, so the grant included doing the work, West Valley Trail, Peace Valley Park, DeBee Lands, and crosswalks. Could you use that money to be applied towards additional crosswalks if we need it?
I don't know. I could find out, but I'm not sure.
If there's a little bit of money, because didn't we have a list of crosswalks that
There's an ongoing list.
there's an
yes.
ongoing list? It'd be interesting if we've got extra money in that one particular, even at DeBee Lands, the 60,000, if you could use it for controlled
Okay.
crossing.
40%, yeah.
So the issue there would be, we would have to fund that extra 40%.
Are we slated to, I guess, install any crosswalks?
Not
Control-
this,
not this year? That money was coming from Travis, I believe. Is that where it was coming from? Where was,
For the
the
crosswalks?
crosswalks.
No, it was from ATF.
oh, it was from ATF? No, I was just, responding to Mr. Ferris's comment of we'd have to have 40%. And I was thinking if we have the 40% sitting in a fund already, right, then we could use it for a controlled crossing if we already have the money. I thought we were using the Travis money or money out of something for crosswalks, were we not? Oh, from,
Used up and then created the reserve for Travis, but I believe council, I have to go back and look at the motion, I think it was for protective equipment, for protective services.
yeah, I thought, and safety and stuff.
But yeah, there is.
Yeah. If we could get an additional crosswalk and we have the money, right, and we've got the grant dollars and could use it, just a suggestion. Is there a member of council that would like to make a motion? Council Sheriff?
Thank you very much. I'll make a motion that council approves the proposed trail upgrades in DeBee Park and Peace Park for an estimated cost of $234,360 to be paid out of the remaining CP 419 budget as outlined in Report Air 24087.
Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? And I'll ask all in favor.
In favor,
That is carried. Thank you very much. Next up, we have 9.
I believe Councillor Yamada was voting opposed.
Oh, were you opposed? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so we had Councillor Romano, we had one of opposed. It was still carried, though. Okay, 9.5, EPAC request for town representation. Mr. Wally Ferris.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On February 14th, 2024, the Eleanor Pickup Arts Center executive, EPAC board members made a presentation to the Governance and Priorities Committee. And on February 15th, administration received a letter from the president of the board requesting council representation on their board of directors. The next steps, if council wishes to accept the invitation, then we would pick a prime counselor and a backup representative in case the prime cannot attend, and administration will add this to the council committee appointment list.
Yep,
That is-
perfect. Thank you for that. Any questions on this committee? Pretty straightforward. They're requesting someone sit on this board. It's a board that we had council and admin representation in the past. So they're encouraging, when you look, I thought it was maybe for either or, but then it does say council, yeah. So if we are approving this, making a motion to, oh, we will put the name in there. Okay. So do we want to have a conversation of who is interested in sitting on this first? How is everyone feeling? Or is this something, a committee that we're feeling that we want to support? Comments? Yeah, Monica, you'd like to sit on it? So if there's someone who's wanting to make the motion, and then they'll probably need a alternative as well. You'll be an alternative, or you're interested, or you want to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion that council appoints Councillor Monica Sharif as the prime representative to sit on EPAC Board of Directors, and that council appoint who want to be the backup.
Okay,
Sure.
Rick? Perfect, thanks.
Councillor Rick Evans as the backup representative to sit on the EPAC Board of Directors when the prime representative cannot attend as defined in report AIR 24-085. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So a motion was made to appoint Ms. Monica Sheriffs as the prime representative and Mr. Rick Evans as the backup representative to sit on the EPAC Board of Directors. Is there any comment, question, or debate on this? The only comment that I would make is, does it say when their next meeting is? Is what to, if passed, if we could be reaching out just to find out when their next meeting date is so that they both have that and any information that they'd like to send our way. If there's not any other comments then, or no other comments, then I will call for the motion. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you very much for that. That is carried. Okay, exciting. That's a nice addition to our committee list. I think that they have some big renovation ideas and plans that are happening at the EPAC. So I think it's important to have a council member's voice at the table to see how that project will be moving forward and if they're going to be needing anything from the town of Drayton Valley or Brazeau County, as both of us are the owners of that building. So moving along the agenda, we have 9.6, Mr. Tom Thompson for the pumper truck update. Wow, I'm just having a hard time speaking today.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, Council.
Good morning.
So just to provide Council with an update in regards to the pumper truck. So back in 2022, during the budget 2023 budget deliberations, Council approved the purchase of a fire pumper truck for the cost of $774,480, which is a cost shared project with Brazeau County. Unfortunately, because of the Buck Creek wildfire last year, we were unable to get this project going. So moving forward into this year, requests for proposal were distributed to 6 manufacturers and 2 of them provided bids for us. Unfortunately, only one of those bids met the specifications that were in the request for proposal. The bid proposal that meets the specs is approximately 2% over the budgeted amount, resulting in a cost increase for the town of $6,820. That increase will come from unrestricted surplus. This increased amount falls within section 12.10 of the purchasing and tendering policy, whereby the chief administrative officer or designate may authorize the disbursement of additional funds, provided the funds required do not exceed 5% of the original budget for the purchase. This project is approximately 2%, so it falls within that range. With the additional funding included, the town's portion of the project will now be $394,060. I just wanted to provide that to council as an update. Just need a motion to accept that as information. And then I have one other quick item.
Sure,
if
you
that's
bet.
right. Thanks.
Any questions, Councillor Evans?
Tom, does that happen a lot that you only get, you send this out to 6 suppliers and you only get 2 bidding on it? That just seems.
This is a bit unusual in reaching out to the other manufacturers. They have so many orders that they are not accepting any more proposals. So they're just so busy. They're backlogged. A lot of it's from the COVID years and they just can't manage it all. So.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious if our specs were, difficult to
Yeah.
meet or.
No,
anything like that.
are,
It's just a backlog, eh?
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Go ahead. Clark?
Excuse me. Tom, I think we've talked about this before, but when, let's say, the pumper truck comes to the town of Drayton Valley, it's sitting at the shop here.
Yep.
The one that we're getting rid of is bumped to probably one of the county shops. And then what happens to the one that's kind of retired?
It will most likely go for auction, so it gets sold.
Right. So where do those funds go?
That particular truck that we are getting rid of was purchased entirely by the county. So Brazeau County would receive those funds. If it was a cost shared truck, then the funds would be distributed equally between the town and the county. An example is our command units, because those are cost shared. Then when the old ones are sold off, then both municipalities receive funds for that.
So the one that's leaving here that was cost shared?
The one that is leaving, it was solely purchased by the county.
The one that's here though, that we're going to be bumping out in place of the new?
Yes.
That was cost shared?
Sorry, I'm kind of confused on what you're.
So the one that we're replacing here,
Yes.
was that cost shared?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor McGee.
When would you take possession?
We're looking at approximately 12 to 14 months for it to be manufactured and brought. So.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'm needing a member of council to make a motion to accept this as information. Councillor McGee, thank you. Thank you very much for that. And or any comment, question, or debate on that? And I'll call the motion. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, Bill. That is carried.
So if I.
Do you have one more thing?
Yes. So some exciting news that just kind of came to fruition last night. I am extremely happy to announce that Cody Rossing, our former CPO officer, is going to be returning to our organization. So that is staff are excited. He will be resuming his position here as well. He's taking on some additional responsibilities. In his previous position, he was a part of his role there was emergency management. So he has agreed to help us manage our emergency management program. I am currently right now, when we talk about ICS, my span of control is pretty large. So I welcome his help and support to help with the emergency management side of it. So that's a real positive for us.
Wow, that's fantastic news, and we welcome him back on board. And obviously the staff is very excited. Everyone was just clapping over there. That's great news. Great to hear, and we don't have to worry about that then. No training, no getting used to the bunch that we are, right? Well, thank you very much
Anyway,
for that.
thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Ms. Lola Strand. Ms. Lola Strand, I cannot talk today at all. 9.7, the urban housing unit renovation. Good morning. It's like everything I say is a tongue twister this morning.
Good morning, Madam Mayor and Council. So this report is in regards to a renovation that we need to do on one of our urban housing units over in Cadence Court, which is beside the DeBeal property. In order to provide this report, though, there's a bit of a backstory that I need to provide with you that will explain how we got to this position that we're in today with this renovation. When we brought the management of the urban housing program in-house, and made the transition from the previous property management company on July 1st, 2022. We were not supplied with any lease agreements or move-in inspections. There were also no inspection reports provided by the previous property manager. Inspections and drafting of new lease agreements were done as a part of the changeover to internal management for all units. Our property manager issued a notice to enter and perform an inspection on the unit that we're speaking about today on June 20th, 2022. But when they arrived to do that inspection, there was no one home and we didn't have keys for that unit. The tenant advised that he was working, so staff agreed to have the tenant come into the office to sign the new lease agreement at a later date. The report from the property management company was that the tenant was a really good tenant, easy to work with. There were no concerns or complaints on behalf of the tenant at that time, except for that the dishwasher wasn't working and there was a cracked window. So we had no reason to believe that there was anything to be concerned about at this time. In June 2023, we started seeing some red flags with this tenant. We had asked that all tenants provide us with copies of tenant's insurance, and that's when this tenant began not responding to calls, emails, or texts. After 3 reminders and actually a threat of eviction, the tenant finally provided us with tenant's insurance. By early fall of 2023, after having such a lack of cooperation by the tenant in providing us with tenant's insurance, the property manager recommended that we not renew their lease agreement. We have to give 3 months notice, so they were advised in writing that the tenancy would end January of 2024. After much persistence, we finally got in the unit during our fall inspections. So we were doing inspections annually at that time. We finally got in to find that there was some damages and it was kept in very poor and unclean condition. It was really hard to see the full extent of the damages at the time, as the unit was extremely full of items, like extremely full of items. At this time, the tenant advised that they would be moving out December 21st, and we advised that they would need to give written notice. This did not happen. An incident report was filed. The tenant missed their rent in December, and a notice was sent via phone call, text, and email. The email came back to us unable to be delivered. Notices were left on the door, still no response from the tenant at that time. An eviction notice was served on the day that they advised that they would be out on December 21st to allow some recourse should they not vacate the unit, and it bounced back via email, no response via text, posted it then on the front and back doors, no response was made at this time. The property manager at this time emailed the previous property manager to find out if he remembered what the state of the unit was in prior to this tenant taking over, and he said it was in good condition on the walkthrough, and he believed that everything was working well. The tenant before was great and he had given the full deposit back. Finally, this tenant did move out on January 8th, and we had the locks changed immediately. We inspected the unit at that time. They left a lot of garbage, household items, furniture behind. We had to have our regular cleaning company come in to do the removal of the property and cleaning, which totaled $1,638. With it finally empty, we were actually then able to see the full extent of the damage. Damages included flooring throughout, paint throughout, and appliances. Although all the appliances were broken, we are no longer replacing dishwashers or microwaves. And the new tenant moving in has their own washer and dryer set. So we'll just be looking at replacing the stove. The facilities manager received quotes for the repairs needed from local contractors. At that time, the property manager called the tenant and tried to ask to have a discussion about them covering some of the cost of this repair. Again, he evaded responding. After much persistence by our current property manager, he finally did respond. He said that there was a lot in need of repair when he moved in, and he had fixed what he could, and then he just lived with the rest. He expressed that the unit was not in good shape when they moved in, and there was no movement inspection or any other inspections were done. The tenant confirmed that his tenant's insurance was no longer active, so we didn't have that as a recourse either. So in summary, there's a large amount of damage. We're not sure if the damages were caused by the tenant, as we don't have any move-in reports from the previous property manager. Since we're not able to prove whether or not the tenant caused the damages, we're unable to go after him through the courts for the cost of that repair. We contacted the town's insurance company and filed a claim. The insurance adjuster considered the damage to be wear and tear, except for the main floor lino, which will be the only portion that will be covered. The deductible is $1,000. So we will get brand new lino flooring on one level for that $1,000. We even tried to access several provincial and federal grants to determine if there's any funding that would be available for renovations for affordable housing. The only grant that is available for renovations is through CMHC. After a lengthy process in doing some pre-application work and having a discussion with contract specialists, we then learned that the minimum required for an application to that funding is $250,000. So it's beyond the scope of what we're doing here. So the options are as followed. Number one, we could repair the unit back to new condition. The total cost would include repairs by the contractor, as per the attached quote, $21,986.25. The removal of items and cleanings is $1,638, which is already done. The approximate cost for a stove is $799.95. The window repair is $1,072.98. And then the insurance deductible was $1,000. So that total would be $26,497.18. The consequences of this option would be it would get the unit back up to the standard that the municipality maintains with its properties. This would protect the asset and ensure that it keeps its value, and rental income would continue to come in as there's a tenant already lined up to come in upon completion. The second option would be to do the bare minimum to bring the unit back up to a safe state of repair. That would include minimal repairs by the contractor for approximately $1,000. That would be no paint, no carpets, no new flooring. It would include just carpet cleaning for $376.95, just to make it safe and livable. The removal of items and cleaning would still, it's already been done, so it's already been paid. We would still need to include a stove as per legislation for the $799.95. We would have to repair the window for $1,072.98. We have concerns with the crack that it may in fact break. And then the insurance deductible for the $1,000. So that would be a total of $5,887.89. So the consequences of this option would be it would make it safe but not aesthetically pleasing. We did include some photos, so you can have a look at the photos about. We could leave it, and you can see what it would look like by just leaving it. This option would decrease the value of the asset. More repairs would need to be done at a later date at some point, and we may get complaints from future potential tenants as to how it looks. The third option would be to not do the repairs at all. The consequences would be we would have to shut the doors and lock the unit because it would not be safe. We wouldn't have any rental income coming in. We would still need to pay the utilities to ensure that the unit didn't freeze. There's a possibility of squatters or vandalism. We already did have one instance of vandalism already since it's been vacant. Somebody did spray paint on the outside on the door. We would have to have some manpower to do drive-bys and inspections on the premises to make sure that there's nothing in fact happening with that vacant unit. We would be unable to rent to one of our approved applicants. They would have to wait, and it would in fact decrease the stock of our affordable housing units. So we have learned from this experience, damages to rentals are not uncommon in affordable housing or really in the regular rental market. But there are some steps that we have taken now to minimize the opportunity for any future for this kind of damage to occur. Since this issue, we have increased our mandatory inspections to twice a year with the property manager, facility managers, health and safety manager, and community services manager all present. New tenants will have a 3-month inspection. And if there's any red flags at all, those inspections will be increased on top of the biannually inspections that we're already doing. Proper forms were created and documentation will all be kept now as far as inspection reports and move in and move out reports. And tenants insurance will be required. And we need to confirm that twice a year. So all tenants will be asked to provide proof of tenant insurance twice a year. So the financial implications, this type of repair was not allocated in our 2024 maintenance budget, as it will be a renovation, not just a simple maintenance repair. So the impact, depending on what your decision is $26,497.18 or $5,887.89. As far as risk goes, there's little risk of vandalism and squatting should we repair the unit in some state and rent it out. For service or organizational implications, the positive reputation of the urban housing program that has been built over the last year and a half will continue if we repair this unit. Service level implications, the need for housing has been recognized in the community by many stakeholders. The repair of this unit will provide that extra 3-bedroom unit to a family in need of affordable housing. The unit was already rented out before the damages were noted for a move-in date of March 1st. Now they're currently waiting on that move-in date. In the urban housing program, we only have 8 3-bedroom units in our program with a wait list of 7 families at this time without posting availabilities. Repairing this unit will keep our 3-bedroom unit total up to 8. So the recommendation is that council directs administration to have the unit repaired as required per the attached quote for the total of $26,497.18 from the CAO contingency fund, or that administration have the unit repair as per the attached quote for a total of $26,497.18 and allow us to go over the approved maintenance budget for 2024. The alternative options would be that council directs administration to bring the unit up to that safe state of repair for $5,887.89, either from the CAO contingency fund or to allow us to go over our maintenance budget, or that council directs administration to not do the repairs at this time, locking up the unit and take it out of the current inventory. Or finally, that council directs administration to come back with more information prior to a decision being made.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Any questions for Ms. Strand? Councilor Evans?
Is this the only estimate you got for the repairs?
No, this was the cheapest estimate.
The lowest?
Yeah.
How many did you get?
For sure too, that was our facility manager who got the estimates. He provided this one to us saying this was the lowest. For sure too.
Can we see the other estimates?
I can get them for you.
Yeah. That would have been my question too, is that if there was 3 estimates, I don't know what our policy is, 2 or 3 estimates for a project like this, for any projects?
We can certainly undertake that. The issue, well, it's not an issue, but the contractor went and got the quotes for us, right? So they were still in that role.
So sorry, the contractor got the quotes?
Very
did.
Very good. Oh, I thought it was a contractor.
No, it's our facility manager who got the quotes.
There you go.
Yeah. Part of me wants to move into closed to have a bit of a discussion around this.
We can do that, or if council is not,
Or table it, or,
yeah, if you'd like to have a look at some additional quotes, we can go out, we can table this. It will remain vacant. And we can table this and go out and get 3 additional quotes if that is council's wish.
go ahead, Councillor Evans.
Well, I think in my mind, generally, it's nice to get 3 quotes. The manager phoned a couple contractors or was it advertised at all? Again, we've got a company from Rocky Rapids here. Fair enough. But it would be nice to know that any contractors within our jurisdiction had a full opportunity to look at it and bid on it. And maybe that happened. I don't know what the process was. From what we've heard here, a couple of phone calls were made. That's my understanding. I don't know if that's different, but to me, this should have been probably advertised quickly for a week or two and then tried to get 3 quotes. I guess that's my opinion. So yeah,
I would agree.
I don't think any of us want to see it sit empty for any longer than it has to. That's not our intent here. We understand that's an issue. But yeah, I'd like to see an established competitive process to get 3 quotes at the minimum, and then we know.
So are you wanting to make a motion to postpone or table until?
Yeah, to have a discussion sort of about timelines and stuff, and if we can go through the process again, or how far behind the 8 ball that's going to put you folks, or if it's going to be a real problem, we look at it for the future. But yeah, I think we should have a discussion about it, would be my opinion. So want me to make a motion?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So a couple things that come to my mind, I think, with tenant insurance, we should have that prior to them moving in, right? Proof of that.
We are, no. Yeah.
Okay, and then secondly, I'm just wondering the other way of insulating ourselves from poor tenants is, you know, do we have a guideline or policy in terms of this is, you know, we do a 6 or 12-month lease, or how do we approach that? Or are we open to doing like a month to month out of the gate to say, prove yourself as a good tenant first? And then we're only stuck with them for a max of 6 months, right?
Right.
So I don't know, is that something that we're open to?
It's something we could certainly consider.
I think it might be smart because I just look at this and go, well, you know, this is pretty expensive fix, right? The more we can do up front to sort of mitigate that stuff, I think it's better, even if there's a bit of effort and time and money that we have to put into it.
Yeah.
Better than the opposite.
I agree, because the tenant was put on rent and there seemed to be no concerns.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was.
Go ahead, Bill. Do you have a question? I have Councillor
Yeah.
Bellis online.
I'm just curious, most rental properties should be self-sustainable. Is there in their budgeting, is there X amount of dollars put away for renovations for emergencies?
The cost of this goes well beyond what was budgeted for renovations, because this isn't simple maintenance or renovations.
Do we have a fund though that we have for repairs and renovations though? We don't? I think that's the other question, or the bill question, or Bill's question, and if it would come from that pool of money.
Like a reserve fund?
Yeah.
Okay.
Elvira will just come up and answer that, Bill.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So previously, at some points in time in the past, the units have made some money, and that money was always put in a reserve for such times as this. But unfortunately, over the last few years, we just have not, we've used up all that so that there would be no impact on taxes. So any year that there was a profit, we'd put it in a reserve, and if there was a loss, then it would come from that reserve so that it wouldn't impact the tax. And I've talked about a little bit through budgeting that over the last few years, we have borrowed from the reserve at this point because we're no longer in that position. And it's very, very difficult for an affordable housing unit to pay for itself. Not impossible, I don't think, but very, very difficult. So yeah, so the answer is that, yeah, we did put money aside when it was making some profit. But unfortunately, like over the last few years, we haven't. So We were pretty close last year to breaking even, I think. I'm bringing the report forward next week for our Q4 report. We were pretty close, so it's just these kinds of things that kind of throw us for a loop, but if this were to make a profit this year, that money would go back to paying off the reserve, and at some point, the hope is that, yes, that there is money there for these kinds of things.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Camana.
Thank you. I was just gonna comment on Colin's comment regarding the insurance, so the other way probably would be actually for the management to have that tenant insurance and then bill the tenants for that as well, right? Rather than asking the tenants themselves to get tenant insurance. That's another conversation maybe we can have with our insurance company and say, to include tenant content, how much, and then in that way, we are making sure that we are covered.
Yeah,
Instead of-
we could certainly have that discussion with our insurance company.
Perfect. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Evans.
So in our, two questions, in our agreements, do we have like a scheduled inspection in there, or do we just kind of go in and look at these places when we think there's a problem?
So we've changed that. It was annual inspection. Now we're going in twice a year. For new tenants, we're going in 3 months.
Yeah, to me, that would be the minimum. In my mind, a lot can happen in 3 months. A place can fall off the rails pretty quick there. And I don't think it's unreasonable with the controlled rent, if you will, the affordability. I don't think it's unreasonable for us to maybe pop in there a little more often, just so we avoid this kind of issue. You leave a place for a year and people can get pretty carried away in there. And secondly, how do we establish our rates? And again, I understand it's affordable housing and we need to find that balance there, but across the country, rents have gone up significantly. Have we done anything with ours? And again, not that I'm saying we should be astronomical too. I understand what we're trying to accomplish here, but if we haven't touched our rates in years, we probably, or in quite a while anyway, we probably should look at what is reasonable in today's environment.
Yeah, we're actually in the process of doing that. Right now, we're making sure there was some that were, I guess, grandfathered in from the past. We're getting everyone to the same rental rate right now. And the next step will be increasing rents by, we're not looking at a significant jump, but at least $50 per unit per month.
Councillor McGee.
Just speak to the discussion that we've had in the past about a housing authority. And because somehow it doesn't seem like we should be in this business. We should have a housing authority that looks after all of that. And it's basically, we're not going in to do these repairs. It just fits as an authority. Are we doing any more thinking about that?
That may be a difficult question to answer. I mean, it's certainly been something that's been considered in the past. There was previous discussion with the housing authority. The housing authority wasn't prepared at that moment, per se, to continue with that discussion, just because the housing authority is going after some other things right now. But it's certainly been something that's been thought of.
Well, and you have 7 on a waiting list, right?
For the 3 bedrooms.
Three bedrooms.
For the 3 bedrooms.
If I may, Madam Mayor, we do, just a little more information, we do have another report coming. Can't remember if it's either in a workshop or to GMP, I think, about our housing stock, where we are, the state of it, how much we need to invest in that to bring it up to standard. How many families we have on waiting lists and stuff. So that report is coming, I think, to a GMP within the next few weeks. So it might be more appropriate to have that discussion about housing authority at that time.
Right, and so having, we were going to actually have that discussion on Friday, but the schedules didn't match. We also have the Brazeau Foundation coming in on the following GNP, and I'm thinking to myself, we should probably postpone that discussion and then wait till we have a robust discussion about our what our intentions are and where we're going to go. It just seems like if we're going to get a report from the Brazeau Foundation that we've seen already, without the discussion, the robust discussion that we're going to have with Lola, and does that make any sense?
Of course. So what I'm hearing is, three things. One, table this report that's in front of you today. Go out, make sure we have gone through a competitive process, get some quotes. Two, postpone the town-owned housing stock report that we have until after the Brazeau County presents theirs, correct? That's what you like?
Brazeau Foundation.
Oh, sorry, the Brazeau Foundation, yes.
Just the opposite. We have.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes,
If we
you
have
would
them
like
come
our
in,
report first.
Yeah,
and
it
then-
seems like we should have our own discussion and have some decisions made out of that. And then but we don't want to, postpone it for a long time.
Wouldn't we want to have the Brazeau Foundation present prior, and then we would add it to when we're presented with our own housing, so then we can have a robust conversation of what that would look like? I'm just trying to figure out.
It's, rather than postpone it, then they're coming in their next GMP, and I don't know what we're going to discuss, but we'll see.
I think they're just presenting, their report. I think it would be useful, I think, then when we have our report to have that. That's how I feel. I don't know how anybody else feels.
Yep.
So Councillor Evans, are you wanting to make a motion then to table? And then we can get the needed information for this report. We'll have some other information come forward, and then we can make a better decision.
Yes. Shall I make the motion to table it and also include to bring it back once 3 quotes are obtained? Or do we just want to table it and then go from there?
Number 6 is that council direct administration to come back with more information prior to a decision being made by council. And that could include the additional estimates.
My apologies. I didn't see number 6 there.
I didn't either, Colin.
Now I got to find page 51. There we go.
I can't take the credit for that.
Okay. All righty, that'll be my motion.
Okay,
The council directs administration to come back with more information prior to a decision being made by council.
perfect. Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? Then I'll ask all in favor. Are you in favor, Bill?
In favor.
Thank you for that, and that is carried. Okay, thank you very much. I think before we move to a break, I see that Staff Sergeant Troy Raditz is here. Thank you very much for coming this morning. And we will jump back into this morning's RCMP stats. We have the Drayton Valley February detachment and the WAD municipal detachment at a glance as well. Good morning.
Good morning. Just want to start with the apology that I'm late.
Oh, no
We had a
worries.
couple things on the go. We're a little short bodies this morning with the protests and a few other things going on. So,
Yeah, I bet it's busy.
but yeah, I'm glad to be here and thank you very much for having me again. So for the crime stats, these are back to February, it's just the way council has worked out, for RCMP attending. You can see we're still, for the most part, continuing to trend down, which when you look at the WAD municipal, the other slide, you can see across Western Alberta District, which we're a part of, they're seeing a little more on the uptrend. So Drayton Valley still moving the right direction. We're seeing a few bumps, and that's to be expected. Usually in the new year, we always see a bit of an uptick in property crime, and I think we're going to continue to see that trend. So we're working at the detachment level to try and curb that and get ahead of it. We've seen a few of our prolific offenders recently come out, and as well as just spring is a naturally busy time. So we're anticipating a slight uptick, but we're also working very aggressively to get ahead of it and minimize it for the community. Through this reporting period, we did have our town hall meeting, and I was very happy to see the mayor and some councillors attend. It was much better attended than our last one, held by Sergeant Hoopmer. And I think he told me there was 3 people. So I think we estimated this time we were between 30 and 40 people. It was a really good discussion. The community is very supportive of the RCMP and the work we're doing and the direction we're heading. So we're going to continue that when we present our our goals and objectives for the year to council. You'll likely see them be very similar to last year based on the feedback we received from the community during that town hall. But that's a discussion we'll have and make sure before we finalize it, that we have support of the mayor and council. As everybody's aware, on April 1st, we had throughout the province, throughout the country, and here specifically, we had the protest and in Drayton Valley, the convoy against the carbon tax increase. It was very well attended, actually. The protest in Drayton Valley was better attended than we anticipated. I think we estimated about 100 people. It was well organized, and everybody was very respectful and interacted very well with the members. We had a couple extra members on that day, and as well as the convoy, and the organizers were very good to work with. And it from our perspective, I can't speak to the political nature of it, but it went off without a hitch, and there was no problem. So that was very nice to see from our side of it, because we all know sometimes protests throughout the province, we've seen agitators attend, or it can spin out of control quickly. So that was very good. In March, we had a very aggressive enforcement action going on around St. Patrick's Day and ensuring that we were very visible and trying to make sure there was no impaired. The members were very impressed with the community. There was only one impaired through the St. Patrick's Day weekend, and they had a lot of contacts with the public and lots of designated drivers. Lots of arrangements were made by people prior to going out and enjoying St. Patty's Day and that. So it was really nice to see that message seems to be getting out, and to have that level of enforcement and only one impaired was really, really, really nice to see. That weekend, we also had the fire behind the bar, and a shed got burnt down in town. And thanks to the members that responded to that, 2 people were taken into custody very quickly after that incident, and any further damage was minimized. Through March, the Drayton Valley RCMP members voluntarily participated in a ball hockey game with the youth at the Powerhouse complex, and a basketball game with the youth. And both were very well attended by the public, and the kids playing, and the members volunteered to come out. So it was really good, very positive feedback from the community on that one. A building update. So I finally started to get traction with my own organization. They seem to be getting behind. I met with the facilities manager, Rick Taylor, and their real property assets manager, sorry. And They're very supportive of the addition of trailers. What we're looking at is adding 3 trailers onto the end of the detachment, being able to move some of our tertiary stuff into that and basically rejig the whole detachment. What we're just working on now is Sergeant Hoopmer and I will be finalizing the design, what our actual plan is. Once we have that done, we're hoping to have that done next week. Then we'll present that to our asset managers within the RCMP. They'll be able to come up with some costings based both the original fit up and then the monthly lease costs. And then once we have that, we'll have to present it within our own organization. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to guess the town isn't in a position that they want to fund this for us. So I haven't brought it to the town. I'm just going to pass it through my own organization, which unfortunately means it will be scheduled. If we get approval for it, will be the 2025 budget year, not this year, because it wasn't planned for. So we're probably a year and a half away from actually seeing this realized if we can get the business case approved and move forward with it. But at least we're seeing it moving forward. That will resolve a lot of our issues as far as space, future expansion, and we're going to add on a washroom facility and stuff, which will relieve some of that. And the goal is we're trying to buy 10 more years for this existing detachment. So I'm hoping that will allow time for the town to work through their facilities management plan, and then we can move forward together. But I seem to be getting support within the RCMP right now to advance this on our side. And like I say, the goal is to buy us that 10 years. Yeah, so the staffing levels within the detachment, we still are maintaining good. We're down, likely going to be down one of our administrative staff from the public servant side. We're anticipating with the loss of our office administrator, she transferred to BC, that likely we'll see one of our current public servants take on the supervisory role. And then we'll have to advertise for a new public servant. So currently we're down 1, and we anticipate this process will probably take 4 to 6 months to get resolved. And from the member side of it, we're still running 1 vacancy. I keep hearing rumors that we'll be getting an experienced member from another force patching over, but we haven't realized that yet. So to be running only 1 of the 22 vacant right now, we're very good compared to what we see across the province. And then, as I informed the mayor here several weeks ago, I've announced my retirement. My last day will be April 11th, so that will create another vacancy. I'm just working on the paperwork now to get that position advertised, and in the interim, it'll once again be filled by Sergeant Hoopmer. And with a little luck, he's in a position where he can apply for the promotion. So with a little luck, we may see Sergeant Hoopmer move into my role, but the speed of the RCMP, that's months. Probably we won't see that realized till fall, but it will have to run through the processes. So I believe that's all I have. Pending any questions?
Thank you very much for that. Any questions? Do you have a question? No? Just a comment of, yeah, so you shared the news with me a couple of weeks ago on your retirement, and very sad to see you go. It was nice having you in the community. It was nice how you were able to get the team out and really engaging with the community. We've seen a lot of things happen in the short time that you were here, so we want to say thank you very much for that. We wish you the best of luck and the most success on your next adventure. It sounds like it's going to be a fun one, and very, very sad to see you go, but very happy to see you go as well with you going into retirement. I think it's fantastic. So thank you very much for everything that you've done.
Well, thank you so much. And I'll just, I've really enjoyed my time here. And initially, my wife and I planned on, I was going to work probably 3-4 more years. And we've honestly enjoyed coming back to the community even more than we thought we would. Just with changes in our personal life and some different stuff is why I'm retiring. But this is really a great community. in great hands, and the detachment is in very, very good shape. So I've enjoyed it. It was a great transition for me, and I really appreciate the support that the detachment gets, as well as I've got personally from the town and council. So it's been a very good experience.
Fantastic. And we're excited. We're used to Ryan, so it's not like we're going to be getting somebody new. He was with us prior to when you came, so we're excited to welcome him aboard as well. So best of luck, and thank you very much for coming in today, and we'll see you around before you go. You're not leaving for a while, so.
No, not for a while, but thank you very much. And I did, as I mentioned to you, I've told the RCMP management that I'm actually still on the books till July 3rd. And if we have, heaven forbid, we have a spring like last year, or there is another problem, I will be amenable to recall. I'm not gonna abandon ship. So I will be around till July anyway. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. Okay, I think before we move into a break, I just want to do a special recognition this morning. We didn't have any proclamations that were scheduled on our agenda, but I'd like to do a proclamation and do a big shout out for our Town of Drayton Valley CAO, Mr. Wally Ferris. He's looking at me like, what? I received a letter from CAMA, and they informed council and the Town of Drayton Valley that the Long Service Recognition Awards program of the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators, which is CAMA, is dedicated to honoring and celebrating the dedication of our members to public service and municipal management, a cornerstone priority for our association. And this year, they are very privileged. We are very privileged, very happy to have you here as our own to acknowledge the commitment of your CAO, Wally Ferris, for his remarkable 15 years of service in municipal government management roles. Your dedication to this role has undoubtedly contributed to the advancement of this municipality and others as well. And we are pleased to recognize your achievements. And we just want to say thank you. And we are very excited to be celebrating with you here in Drayton Valley. No, you're not. Yeah. So yeah, we just want to thank you very much. We're very happy that you chose Drayton Valley, the town of Drayton Valley, for this position. And yeah, the 15 years that you've given to municipal government, it's not always an easy road, and you've managed to weather that storm, and here you are today, and we're excited to have you on board and welcome you to the team. And this is just a great achievement. So congratulations. And yeah, thanks for everything. We will call a 10-minute break, and then we will reconvene. .43 a.m. We'll jump back into our decision items. I think we're doing pretty good for time. There's not a lot of questions that everyone is asking. Next up on our decision items list is 9.8, which is the amendment for 2024-01D to Land Use Bylaw 2020-12D to create Direct Control District 2 and Redistrict Plan 6261. And that is Mr. Ferris that will report on this morning.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, Douglas is away today. This would normally be his report, but it's first reading, and I agreed that I could take care of that for him. So the subject property is located at 4720 46th Street in a residential area. The lot districted small lot residential and is adjacent to a 12-unit apartment to the east, a townhouse complex to the north, and a small residential lot to the south and west. A little bit of background on this property. So under land use bylaw 81/6, the land was districted R1-A residential, and there was a home and a garage on the property. In 1983, the Health Authority purchased the property for the hospital auxiliary to be used as an office space and a thrift store to raise money for the local healthcare. House was removed and the property was rezoned, because I can't say redistricted, rezoned to urban services. The urban service district allowed for institutional uses, including schools, library, care facilities, hospitals, and so forth. In 1996, council approved land use bylaw 96/24, and the property was rezoned to residential. And the thrift store continued to operate. 2007, council approved land use bylaw 2007/24/D and rezoned the lands to R1B, standard residential, and thrift store continued to operate. In 2016, the Health Authority sold the property to a private citizen, and sometime after that, the auxiliary moved to its current location on 50th Avenue. In 2017, the town, in error, issued a business license for a yoga studio without a development permit for the change of use to the zoning. The R1B district did not allow for this type of use, and the use cannot be varied by the Development Authority. 2020, council approved land use bylaw 2020/12/D, and property was rezoned to small lot residential, and the yoga business continued to operate. In March of this year, the property owners applied for a development permit to add a healthcare practitioner. In order to accommodate both the yoga studio and the healthcare practitioner, the property must be redistricted, since the current residential zoning does not allow for commercial uses. Council could consider a commercial district, but sometimes uses are not suitable for a residential area. Administration believes the best solution is to create a direct control district. DC2 was designed to be primarily residential, but allows for low impact commercial and professional activities, care facilities, child medical clinics, recreation, private recreation, and office can accommodate the current uses and allow for the applicants to replace them with similar uses like a daycare or dance studio. If at some point the landowner wishes to construct a residence with an accessory building, the district allows for that. So, administration respectfully recommends that council give first reading to bylaw amendment 2024/01/D as defined in report AIR 24-082.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Any questions this morning for Mr. Ferris? Go ahead, Councillor McGee. Yeah.
We're looking for first reading, and so, Madam Mayor, the council give first reading to bylaw amendment 2024-01D as defined in the report AIR 24-082.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Any comment, question, or debate on the motion? I'm just, Councillor Clark stepped out and the motion was already made, so it's on the floor.
Yep, we still have quorum.
We still have quorum. I don't have to wait for him to come back.
I don't think so. You can.
I think we can. That we'll discuss later. Okay, so there was a motion that is on the floor for first reading for this. Any comment, question, debate on the motion? I think this is a fairly easy one. The business has been operating there for several years. We just need to bring that parcel into compliance and they can continue to do business as they've been doing all along. So first reading is on the floor and I'll ask now, all in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, Bill, and that is carried. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Ferris. Moving along the agenda, next up is 9.9 Alberta Council Lobbyist and Grant Writing Proposal. This is you again, Mr. Ferris.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Expect to go back on. At the February 21st regular council meeting, council received a delegation from Alberta Council outlining their services with respect to lobbying governments and grant writing. In general, they are a support service that assists in helping the town maintain and grow its position as a stakeholder with key political decision makers in the government. They deliver ongoing political intelligence and strategic advice, intelligence and briefings on what the opposition is doing, grant writing for the town and for the not-for-profit organizations within the town. The full proposal for these services attached to the report. The fee for these services is $5,000 per month or $60,000 per year. In addition to political lobbying, they also provide grant writing support service for the municipality and not-for-profits within the town's borders. The grant writing proposal is also attached to the report, but is included in the above noted price. If the town signs up for the full proposal of $5,000 a month, then there is a 1.5% fee for not-for-profit organizations with the community for grant writing services. The application assistance is free, but if the grant application is successful, there is a 1.5% charge off the top of the total grant. Excuse me. The other alternative is a grant funding only contract with Alberta Council, which would be about $1,000 per month retainer and a 0.5% fee for municipal grants and a 2.5% fee for all other organizations. The percentage fees are only paid on successful grant applications. So with that, administration respectfully recommends that council approve this report and direct administration to enter into a contract with Alberta Council. The $40,000 for 2024 would be funded from the CAO contingency fund, and that this service be rolled into the core budget for 2025. That I'm happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Evans?
Can you tell me what we were paying, and maybe Shelley knows this, what we were paying to the private company that we had chasing grants, what percentage it was? I think it was higher than this, but I just want to.
I believe it was higher, and it was on a sliding scale depending on the amount received. But Shelley, do you have any of that?
That's what I thought it was too. I just wanted to confirm that this is better.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Through Madam Mayor, to you, Councillor Evans, that 5% was on the town, right? So if the town did a grant, I don't know if that company offered grant writing services for not-for-profits.
Okay, fair enough. So a couple of advantages there. You know, I'm generally in support of this, but I would rather not see us commit to the service being rolled into the core budget for 2025. I'd like to see us do a review at that time and then decide whether we want to continue into 2025. I'd just like to see what kind of results we get, to be honest with you.
So you're saying just use them for the year of 2024 and then kind of do an evaluation at the end of the year?
Yeah, see what we're getting for our money and how it's going, and then decide whether to roll it over into the ongoing budget for 2025.
Yeah, great point. I'll go to Councillor Gamana first and then Councillor Sheriffs. And then Councillor Ballas. Go ahead, Councillor Gamana.
Thank you. Just wondering a couple of things. The first one is kind of the effectiveness, talk about that, what Rick talked about. In the end of the year, how do we measure the effectiveness of their services, right? So is there any gauge that we put onto the contract saying this is what we are looking for and this need to be kind of achieved, or is it project by project basis and see how it goes?
I'm sorry, Councillor Gamana, if you could repeat some of that, because I think I only caught about a third of it.
Sure, no worries. Okay, so on the contract that we have with them, that proposal that they are bringing in, is there, I guess, accountability or effectiveness of their services, right? Is there anything that they are, yes, they are providing advocacy services for us, but what does that mean, right? Is there any gauge that we can say in the end of the year that they've been successful or they've been not? Have we discussed that? That's my first question. The second question is, we talked about the contracts and, having needed more than one proposal. So do we need something like that on this one as well?
Well, thank you, Councillor Gamana. Through you, Madam Chair, to the councillor. I'll answer your second question first. No, we do not have to, council does not have to go through a competitive process to hire Alberta Council. I don't know of any other lobbying firms that are out there to do that. So given the cost, if it was administration that was doing this, we would probably, we would have to follow a competitive process. If you're not able to follow a competitive process, then the decision is passed to council. And that's why that one is here. With respect to performance management on them, I would suggest that the administration and council work together on that. Would depend, I would think it would depend on what issues you're lobbying for and how you're going to measure success on that, right? Some of the issues that that municipalities have, we can lobby all day long, and unfortunately, the province or the feds probably aren't going to budge. So we can certainly talk about that, how you want to measure. There's two areas, right? There's the lobbying and there's a grant writing. So maybe we look at a percentage success rate on both. And that's something that we can talk about now, or we can talk about that at time with Alberta Council if we move forward with them.
Any other comments or questions? Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Councillor Sheriff.
That's okay. I'd like to clarify something. So the 1.5% fee for the non-for-profit, that doesn't apply to town grants though, right? So if we get approved for a grant, there is no 1.5% fee. That's just for the nonprofit.
Great question. Thank you, Councillor Sheriff. Correct. So if we go, there's two kind of proposals buried in here. One, we can go with the full one where we get the lobbying. If we do that, there is no fees associated to grants received by the town, and a 1.5% fee attached for successful grants for not-for-profit communities within the town. If we go with only the grant writing, then on successful proposals or successful applications, there's a 0.5%, I believe it is, fee for the town, and 2.5% for successful applications for not-for-profit organizations within the town.
Okay, and so let's say we go with the first one, just to put it out there, the 1.5% would have to be paid for by the non-for-profit organization applying for the grant, not by town, right?
That's correct.
Councillor Ballas? Bill, do you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. I guess my question is this. Is council going to sit down with administration and come up with a priority list? Or are we just going to leave that up to the lobbying firm? What are our concrete asks? What is it that we want? What is it that we need? I don't think we can just give them a blanket and say, here, go. We need to put some priorities in order.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, Bill's question was, are we going to come up with a concrete list of priorities or sit down or leave it up to them? I know when Alberta Council presented, that was one of the things that they had said is that we take it back as a council and decide what those priorities. So depending on how the vote goes today, that's what we'll have to do. Maybe we put it on the agenda for next week to come up with what our top three, I think they said 3 to 5. And then I mean, we can come up with as many as we want, and then they'll tell you yes or no, because a lot of times they have those relationships built with that ministry, and they know it's not going to happen, or this is what's on the table, or there's extra funds here, or there's, extra. They have a better idea of where we can push a little bit harder on some things. Then we bring it back and decide if those still are our top priorities. And I think it'll be a little bit of going back and forth, and then it'll be a matter of getting to work, is what my understanding when they presented to us was. Are there any other questions? Councillor Evans?
Really just a comment, and I agree with you there. I think it's incumbent upon us to be very clear on what our expectations are and what we want them to address. So when we do review their performance before we look at including it in the 2025 budget, we're fair and it's clear that it has been an advantage to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at the team that's made up at the Alberta Council, they're a strong bunch. I had the opportunity to sit back and observe them when I was at the Leaders Caucus and just watching them engage with the ministers and things like that, seeing, those relationships. And there's, like I look at a couple of them, they've been either on council or at the ledge or, working alongside ministers for many years. So that's an advantage to us when we look at this group of people for sure. I think also just knowing that there is some success stories that have come out of a lot of the members, as well as a lot of the municipalities, organizations, and businesses that they've lobbied for. I think, going through the budget that we just went through, and as difficult as it was, I think we need to look at better ways of how we're going to afford these projects. And I know it goes all the way up to the federal government cutting back on infrastructure funding, and we need to start pushing a lot harder of where these dollars are. We just keep getting cuts and cuts. And I understand that healthcare is very, very important, and a lot of dollars have gone to, support the healthcare, and we need to revamp that and things like that. I can definitely appreciate that. But when we look at our infrastructure and all of the other lists that, when it comes to our capital projects, they just keep growing and growing, and we have failing, infrastructure with our facilities that we're going to have to be replacing over the next, 10 to 15 years too, and it just keeps piling up. They need to also be looking at that MSI funding again, and this LGFF isn't cutting it for communities like ourselves. So I think if we can get a group that is helping us push and helping us lobbying and looking at other ways that we can, maybe be expanding our pocketbooks and getting some of the projects and still providing that, high level of quality of life for our residents and get some of the projects, I think it checks the box. If we were to hire this position in-house, it would cost us a lot more than what's proposed here. So they have a good track record. It looks like they have a good team. So I think it's worth a shot. I appreciate Rick's comments on, let's see how this year goes. Let's see how far we get, how hard they're pushing on those priorities, and then reevaluate at the end of the year. If it's paying off and we're getting a huge return on that, that money, then it's a win for our community. Why wouldn't we continue that for sure? If there's no other questions, then go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. I think, it is very good value, I think, for what we're getting, or what I suspect we're getting. We're getting a team of people, not just one person, like you said, right? And they're all seasoned people. So I think that's pretty strategic, I think, for the town. We're investing in ourselves and we're investing in the community with the grant writing. I think that'll be a welcome thing for
that's great.
Probably many, many organizations in this town. So I think that's important to show the community that we're including them and giving back, I guess, in a sense. So I think this is a fantastic thing, and I think it's money well spent for sure.
Yeah. And we always get those groups that come to us, right? Looking at grants. We can't always, as a municipality, be searching those grants. So now this helps. It search, if a particular project from the community comes forward, then you've got somebody working on that. And then it brings more life to our community, right? We can see more done at a low cost for sure. Councillor McGee, did you have a question?
I do. I agree with the comments that are already made about the team. But really, it's going to be up to us to
absolutely
to either have them here or phone, and talk directly to them, right? To say, here's our 5 things. Here's how we're going to measure it. Here's how we're going to gauge it. And so we have to take that responsibility. for sure. So I'm for giving it a try.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And like they said, you know, they're going to be doing the lobbying, but we're still the face, right? We're going to be present there. We're going to be the ones talking to the ministers and still pushing forward our projects. They're just helping connect the dots and making sure we get that face time. I think we have a lot of good relationships with this government right now, and I think this only helps to strengthen those relationships and grow them. So we are first or at top of the list when it comes to things that are happening. And when we look at the province's mandates, we want to make sure that ours align. You know, we're a very economic development driven community where we want to see growth and sustainability, right? So that aligns with the province. So making those connections and making sure that Drayton Valley is open for business and we can be the location for some of these big pilot projects, you know, brings revenue and growth and stability to our community too, for sure.
And how would we advertise for the not-for-profits? I'm thinking of the library, particularly right now. It's Friends of the Library, those kinds of things. How would we go about getting that out to those folks that are doing that work?
Yes, thank you. Good question, Councillor McGee. I think that we would essentially do a public education campaign. So if council approves a report or gives direction for the town to proceed to enter into an agreement, at least for the remainder of 2024, that we'd reach out to the list of not-for-profit organizations directly with a letter explaining what we have. I'm hoping we have a list of those organizations, and we reach out to them directly, let them know, and plus do a little bit of a social media campaign on it.
Is there a member of council that'd like to make a motion? Councillor Evans?
I've just adjusted this motion just a bit at
Sure.
the end there. I'll make the motion that council approve this report and direct administration to enter into a contract with Alberta Council, the 40,000 for 2024 to be funded from the CAO contingency fund, and that the service be reviewed for the 2025 budget.
Perfect. I think
Fair
that's
enough.
great. Yeah, that's great. Any comment, question, debate on that? Councillor McGee?
One last comment. The county of Brazeau, they may not know about this, but it would seem to me that if we're aligned, might be an opportunity for us to ask them to consider it because of what they're trying to do as well as us. And
Well, thank you. That's a good point. I think if I'm Alberta Council, they're a separate organization. So we wouldn't be able to go 50-50 on it like we do for capital expenditures. I don't imagine Alberta councils would be on for that. But we can certainly let them know. We can call the interim CAO, let them know what we're doing, share the report with them. And maybe you discuss it at the next joint council meeting.
Perfect. Thank you. So there's a motion on the table. If there's no other further comment, question, debate, then I'll call the motion. All in favor?
In favor?
Thank you, Bill. And that is carried. Okay, that is it for our decision items. Next up is council initiated items. 10.1, which is a letter of support for regional airport support and funding. I had put this on the agenda as I sit on this committee, which is regional with regional mayors and Reeves, advocating for our local airport. And we were supposed to meet just prior to RMA, but that meeting got postponed. So what I guess the appetite of the committee is to send a letter of support along with MLA Getson and all the other municipalities that have regional airports that are our size and sit on this board. So I've included the letter of support as well as the minutes of the last meeting. So if there's any questions, I guess, in regards to this or comments, the request today is for a letter of support, the one that is in your package today. That is, it says Mountain View County, and it goes to the Honorable Devin Dreeshen, writing on behalf of many municipalities and local in regional airports located throughout the province, looking to increase the awareness and support available for general aviation and economic diversification in Alberta. A lot of these airports need a lot of repairs and maintenance and upgrades to keep them, I guess, up to speed. We have a wonderful asset here in our community that's used not only for recreation and it could be a growing economic development, I think, initiative, as well as it's used for emergency, which we don't talk about. It was a big, our significant asset when the wildfires came. And we have a lot of air vac that happens out there that we don't know of. And there's just a lot that happens. I think that, you know, I guess sometimes we take for granted that we have something like this in our community. So this just strengthens that, I guess, the kind of ask. We've met with the local committee here at the airport, and we've got their wish lists and things that improvements they'd like to see happen at the airport. Some of them which are more important than others, like the shape of that taxiway and the fueling station and radio and all sorts of things. So if there's any questions, otherwise, how is everyone feeling about the letter of support? Okay, is there a member of council that would like to make a motion for us to proceed with that? I'm not even going to look this way. I'm going to look at these two because I don't know if they've been sleeping with me over here. You're working too hard. Yeah. Going to look at Councillor Gamana. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'll make that motion that we will write a letter of support for the.
But the letter's already wrote, so I guess it would just be sign the letter of support or be in support of the letter.
Yeah, so be in support of the letter for the airport services, right? Is that good enough? And airport support and funding.
Okay. Nancy's looking like, what was that?
Okay, I'll make motion that we support the letter to. Thank you.
Did you want it? Could you read that back, please?
That's good enough.
I'll just make it the letter of support for the regional airport support and funding.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Polly.
Yeah, I'm not even look this way. Oh, yeah. Okay, so there's a motion there, and I'll ask, is there any comment, question, debate on the motion? If not, then I'll ask all in favor.
In favor.
Thank you, Bill, and that is carried. So that was that. Next up is 10.2, roundtable discussion. We've moved it up on the agenda because I know everybody gets really excited and wants to include things in their council reports. So this is an opportunity to talk a little bit about what's happening. It looks like April is another busy month with a lot happening. I can start. I know for myself, we have the Pembina Physician Recruitment Appreciation that'll be happening on April 17th. The Air Cadets is having a celebration. I can't remember what anniversary they're celebrating, but that is at the end of the month. What else is kind of on my calendar for a lot's happening here in the community? Does anybody else have any things that they're attending or that they want to talk about here? There's the ladies gala that is happening this weekend. I know that all the ladies in the community get very, very excited. I think every hair salon and every tanning booth and everything has been booked all week when you go. I tried to get my daughter in for her hair and they said not a chance this week, that they've been booked forever. Everybody wants to get their glam on and look fabulous for the weekend. I know that the Rotary Club has been doing the Diamond Gala for several years. Last year was their last year that they took this on, and the Drayton Valley Community Foundation is taking this over. They've got some big boots to fill. This is their first year, so we wish them the best and many successes. I know it's a hit for the community. It's an opportunity for all the ladies to get together, have some fun and some good, clean fun, and and raise some dollars for our community. So it's fantastic. Yeah, that's happening this weekend. Any committee things from your committees that are kind of happening? Not an update of past, but going forward. Rick?
I'm not sure if you want me to give you an update on what the Sustainability Committee is up to now or in my report?
In your report, yeah.
Okay,
I guess just if there was anything that's kind of happening.
yeah. No, thanks.
I have the Ukrainian Evacuee Support Program grant from Drayton Valley Community Learning happening at the end of the month. Tom, I believe, are you not attending and saying a few words at a seniors? What is that happening again? Is it next week? It's April 11th. And is that open to seniors? Is that, do you know anything that we could maybe give a little shout out to that? Lola, do you know? Or is it in your report? Seniors and Youth Conference. So is it open to all residents? Oh, it is. Okay. And how, if they wanted to go, how would they find out about this? It's on social media? Okay. Okay. Perfect.
There were posters out at the Brazeau, at the lodge and a few other spots, I think, too.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so if there's no other roundtable discussion, oh, go ahead, Rick.
And my apologies, Madam Mayor. I probably should have maybe requested this be added to the agenda. Just a couple of quick questions
Sure.
for actually Tom, if that's okay.
Yep.
Just one, the containers that you're looking for. Again, auction just passed. I think there, another 4 went for a pretty good price. If we could look at that, I think there might be some savings there. I think they're what you want, but I don't know. Have you ever made it up there? I know you're busy these days, Tom. And were they not acceptable? Perfect. And was that from the auction or did you purchase it outside the auction? Okay. Do you know what you paid for it? Okay. And secondly, you know, I know we had that proposal from the gentleman on the south end of town, was looking to build a lake for water access. Have we ever looked at the retention pond behind the CETC as a water supply in, you know, if we do get another fire? I was out there looking at it the other day and I realized the overflow pipe is fairly low, but that would be a pretty easy fix. The only thing would be filling it, but you know, again, I look around there, there's not many power lines. It's fairly wide open, but would it be wide open enough to even consider it and look at what we could do to make it, fill it up enough for them to start bailing water out of it? And once again, my apologies for taking up
No,
the time.
This is it for the questions. Yeah, it's good.
So just to add to that, the big issue with the fire, water was never a problem with the fire. We had more than enough water, and in that situation, we were pulling out of a hydrant, which was easy for trucks just to connect to and just suck out. That's a lot easier method for us because we know that the quality of water, it's clean, it's not full of chemicals, or not that would be, but or full of silt and stuff like that, because that type of stuff is very hard on our pumps. So if we can connect to a hydrant, that is always our first choice. And during the wildland fire, that's what was happening. Our trucks were filling through our hydrant system, so we'd never had a problem with that. So if we were in that same situation again, we would resort to hydrants as our priority. Unless, of course, that we're in a drought situation, then that's a different situation, and that could be a situation where we could look at what you're talking about there. But our main goal, our main priority would always be to pull out of a hydrant if possible.
And that's fair and reasonable. I guess a couple of questions now. Did we keep track of how much, was that out of our water system?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so did we ever keep track of how much water we were supplying for the fire? And secondly, I'm thinking that there was issues with trying to get, it was my understanding anyway, a place where the helicopters could drop their buckets in because the river was flowing, obviously. So that's why I looked around there at power lines, and if there was any close there, or we had a pretty good, pretty open area. And again, if it's worthwhile, I don't know if it is. I just happen to be looking at it and thinking it wouldn't take much to build up the one side, and we'd have a very high volume of water there.
Right. For wildland aerial operations, they're very particular and very meticulous on where they're pulling water from. There's environmental issues in regards to it, but there's also safety hazards like power lines and that kind of stuff. As I said, it's always something that we can look at and explore with them. I have a meeting with Kevin Hunt, who is our representative for this, for Rocky Mountain House, which is kind of our area as well with them. And I can reach out to him and have that conversation with him about that. So, yeah.
Just wanted to get it on the radar as a consideration.
Sure, absolutely.
Perfect. I just wanted to discuss a letter too that came in my inbox. It was for Child and Youth Advocates in Central Alberta. It was an invitation to the Red Deer Polytechnic on April 12th, 2024 State of Child Wellbeing launch hosted by Central Alberta Child Advocacy Center. I think you responded to that, Lola. Typically, do we attend? Because they were saying all the other municipalities that will be there, and we're one that don't have any representation. We've never attended. I know I seen this last year in my inbox. It kind of come up in that, and now it's come here, and it gives a list of the municipalities. Do we see, you know, I guess a need to show our support, or do you know much about this? We can or can't? Oh, we can access. Okay, so it might be important to have representation there on the 12th. That is the Friday. Okay. I will think about attending. I don't know if anyone else is interested. State of Child Wellbeing launch hosted by Central Alberta Child Advocacy, April 12th at 8:30. I can forward this on. And as well, I just wanted to also, this came on my desk too, and I can just kind of maybe give a shout out. The Mac Center is celebrating 25 years. It's their silver anniversary, and they're having a big show at the Mac Center on April 19th, 2024. And it looks like they've got 2 shows, Whiskey Boys and Patsy Cline and Friends. Looks like a great way to bring the community together and celebrating 25 years. So if you know of anybody that wants to go or is going, head on down there and celebrate. And if there's no other discussion, then I'll move on to department reports. First up is Mr. Hans van Klaveren, Community and Recreation Service Department report.
Thank you, Mayor, and through as chair to the rest of council, this report. So a couple of items to highlight, and it's always nice to see things happening in our community. So first of all, in the ECDC, you see that we are getting students back this spring. That means it's a win-win situation when we have that those coming in. We haven't had them for a while, so it's great to see that program ramp up again. The other thing, of course, they do is still the Indigenous teachings, which they do with our Indigenous partners. And in the ECDC, that happens quite a lot. And it's nice to see that variety coming in as teachings with our kids. For the FCSS, the volunteer text program that's underway, and yes, we provided 600 of them, and we will certainly see 500 or more of those text filings being done with our volunteer program. So that's great to see that. The other volunteer item that we mentioned last time as well, and it's been received very well, that we don't do the dinner this year, not a appreciation dinner, but all the organizations had the chance to sign up and get financial funding from us through FCSS to do something specific with their volunteers inside their organization. For the Omniplex, yes, it's always nice to see those events happening in the ice, and we saw those curling events. It's great to know we took the curling ice out, but they are already working for next year to see that we can get another big curling event happening in the, let's say, middle of the season. That will be so big, and we're working together with the club on it, that we might even take one of our arenas and transition that into curling ice as well for that event. But things are not settled down yet, but we're working on it, and it's great that they did a good event so that they are now on the radar. The other item over there is for the fitness center. We started our gym pass sales, so that's a 25% discount for students coming back for the summertime. And it's always a good uptake for those students that normally live maybe outside of the community, of course, but come back for the summertime. In the Ricochet Oral Corp Aquatic Center, of course, we had our JLC meet, and last time we said it already, but now you see it on paper again. It's nice that we finished first in that event that we organized here for the first time, and we see hopefully that as, of course, a recurring event. In community service, the $20,000 that you see over there is a, let's say, fast-tracked item that came on our desk, and Lola took the bull by the horns, because that's a $20,000 commitment that we got through RDN. It has to be spent within a couple of weeks, so in April, and we shortlisted with our partners, organizations, to get people housed, and basically an initiative to get them housed so we can pay the first month of rent / the deposit, to get them in locations, the people that are, let's say, unsheltered, that are, we know that are, let's say, most likely successful, hopefully to be continuing renting after that. So we work together with those organizations to shortlist them, reach out to those people, but also to our, let's say, partners that have those short rentals. So it's great to see that happening, and hopefully that housing first model will show again successful in that sense, because when you get a roof over somebody's head, that's most of the time the first step that's important to get further in life and be a successful renter in the long term. The one item that's not on there that I wanted to share with you is we are planning an information session for all community members to get together close to the 1-year mark of our Buck Creek wildfire and evacuation that we, of course, experienced here for Dryden Valley and the surrounding area. Alberta Health Services will present and speak with people regarding to the mental health aspect, and of course the stress management and how people perceive that still after all those months, and especially when the year comes closer to, let's say, a full year, because that's what the experience is. And our, let's say, professionals have mentioned that as well in sessions that we attended. So you have to put effort into that, and that's one aspect of that session that we wanted to organize. The other aspect is, of course, our preparedness. Share that with the community. There has been so many things happening in the background that people know about, maybe, or don't even know about yet. Those are things like our structure inside our municipal organization, ICS system, the training that has happened already, the information sessions we did with the business community to help out and how they can be part of that, the videos that are out there, and the preparedness that people can do themselves. So those two components, the mental health aspect and what Alberta Health Services can do to talk with people, have specialists over there and help people out. And the other thing, to inform the people. We bring them together on, and the planning is on Monday, April 29th, in an afternoon and an evening session that we will organize in the MCC. The information will come out, and that basically is what council also, let's say, asked of us, like, hey, what are we doing for that 1 year? And the biggest thing is, of course, not so much the memorial side of it, but more the mental aspect and the preparedness information sharing aspect. So those things happening on April 29th. Let's say the earliest moment would be April 22nd, but we have had in conversations with the professionals, pick a date that's really close towards your 1-year anniversary, because people will experience that need for information and that need to address their mental health aspect close to that date. You don't know maybe yet, but you will experience that at that moment. So with a almost nod, we'll proceed with that and we'll get information out to the community on that session that we're going to organize. And with that, if there's any other questions, ask.
Thank you very much for your report. Councillor Sheriffs.
I just have a question. Seeing how the curling ice is removed, now will we be considering putting that turf down?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Sheriffs, and through the chair. So when we took the turf, of course, at that moment, the purchase was one aspect of it. The other aspect was the amount of work that it will have to put it in. So at the moment, we have not planned to put it in straight away because the usage of the turf, especially the sports that will be on that turf, turns out it's very inconducive to the curling rink itself. The lights have to be protected. There's so much over there that is basically another aspect that was not enough considered at that moment. So we are still looking into options. We even reached out to other communities and, hey, how would you go about it? Or would you even purchase it from us? Because we see that that's a lot of angles to it. The arena, which is more, let's say, inclined to host something like that, the ice is still in there for the extension of the year. We are having that in Omni 2 for a long period of time. And the Omni 1 is, of course, our, let's say, bull riders and rodeo events. So we are still discussing, but it's going to be a long haul to put it in there. So we're not 100% sure. And at this moment, we're not planning it to put it in straight now.
Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Just a couple things. The curling championships, sounds like that went very, very well. I was chatting with some folks from the curling club and they said that they're looking at hosting some more next year. Potentially even like Briar qualifiers, so be some high level curling, so that'd be great. As well as I know the Ringette Association's talking about hosting provincials next year, so that could bring 120-ish athletes and families and all that sort of stuff for 4 or 5 days. So I think we got lots on the go next year, so that's good.
Thank you.
Councillor McGee.
So an anonymous organization located in Edmonton, we've got $20,000 that we have to spend before the end of April. So we have 1 month to spend that. And from what I see, are we just going to go and rent hotel rooms? Is that what the intention is?
So well, thank you for that clarifying question. So yes, it's short-term rentals that we can afford to pay with that. So it's a month rent / the deposit that's needed, of course, as well. So it's only a short getting a roof over somebody's head that now cannot afford those rental opportunities. So together with the renter provider, so motel or the other locations that we have in town with short rentals, we sign a agreement. We sign it also with the renter, of course, with the person that we provide. And between those two parties, the provider and the renter itself, of course, there has to be the lease agreement or the rental agreement. And it's only very clear that we provide that for a short term. The money comes through RDN to us. And yes, we have to spend that right now. And it's basically part of, let's say, the government trying to get people straight a roof over their head, to get them in that situation that they might be successful to take with us that first step and maybe after that themselves. So we also screen the people that we are pushing forward, of course, and saying, hey, these are the people that we reached out to that we think will be successful in this program. I take a look here on Lola. That's correct?
So screening means qualified.
Screening means qualified, and in that sense that we take a look, of course, like maybe they just started a job. Or they are close to that, or they are just having the financial means not at this moment to get into the rental market, because the rental market is, of course, not easy to get into for certain levels. So we take a good look into be successful. It's not going to be just a roof over somebody's head and then 100% sure that we know already now that's going to be 1 month only. We do that with the intent to make the first step for a longer period of time, that they can sustain themselves.
Okay, thank you.
And that makes sense too, because I was going to question that of, you have the $20,000 and you put them in a motel and then they're sheltered for a while and then then they're taken away. But if it's the clients are being screened, then that sets them hopefully up for future success and they're able to just transition and. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. Any other questions? No, well, thank you very much for your report. Next up is Ms. Shelley Terry, Municipal Service Department report. Good morning. Your hair looks lovely.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'll start with Public Works. Grading of back alleys is ongoing. Ice in the back alleys is still present, so crews are working on smoothing out the back alleys in efforts to stay ahead of the melting. School signs work is ongoing. Crews are installing new signs that were needed at the Powerhouse campus, as well as adjusting some signs to increase visibility. Pothole and patching season is here, so crews are getting the pothole machine ready for work, as well as getting material for the upcoming year. They started yesterday out, they were out patching yesterday, so they've got a lot of work ahead of them. Crack seal RFQ is out for bidding. Line painting RFQ is almost complete and will be issued this week. They did some extensive washing of equipment after the winter season to get ready for spring and summer operations. Crews have been working on clearing frozen culverts and catch basins around town. When the temperatures increased to +19 there, it did cause some havoc. So they were out doing that over a weekend because they had some flooding issues around town. Our combo unit has been sent away for warranty work to correct the lines from freezing during winter operations. Parks crew has been dealing with a lot of vandalism and graffiti around town. So they've been working on removing that, and if they can't remove based off weather conditions, then they paint over and then we'll remove it when they can. We also are seeing some vandalism at the ball diamonds. We did have one fire at one of the dugouts. That has all been repaired now. Litter around parks was cleaned up with some of the snow melt, and they're going to continuously be working on that. ICS training for staff at various levels. There's been a lot of positive comments from the trainers and the people being trained and on the training. Snow removal is continuous. Well, was continuous when we did this report for our walking trails and sidewalks. Flower baskets have been delivered to the respective greenhouses and they've been planted, and we are estimating our delivery of May. Last week of May, beginning of June, and we had 88 baskets in total. Hazard trees and unsightly bush lines are being worked on in West Valley Parks, and it's our current priority as we see a lot of pedestrian traffic in these areas. And with the new pathways, we want to make the area beautiful and maintained. Utilities crews completed inspections on membrane train number 1, which completes our annual inspections for 2024. The polyaluminum chloride tank cleaning project that was approved during budget has been completed now. We had got some quotes from some specialized companies. Those quotes were coming in way too high, so we worked with a local company to do the job safely and well under budget. Annual chlorine system inspections and maintenance is scheduled to begin at the water treatment plant on April 2nd. Work to also relocate injectors inside the water plant to allow for more regular maintenance inspections is scheduled on April 2nd as well. Annual crane inspections for all of our facilities was completed on March 28th, and we hired a new utility operator to replace Bree, who came out of the union as the manager. We posted the position for the full-time combo unit, and we should be starting interviews shortly. one operator and myself attended the annual Banff Water Seminar and took several workshops on some new technologies and ultimately provided credits for our recertifications. The Sager pilot is scheduled to wrap up beginning of May. So results continue to be excellent all winter, bringing our unionized ammonia well within our regulatory requirements. First letter has been sent out to commercial users about potential consequential actions that we could take under the new bylaw for compliance with wastewater requirements. Sections of Lower Cantrap have been identified for troubleshooting camera work in the summer as part of the assessment that we had done on the Lower Cantrap area. Landfill and engineering. Reviewed ADCO plan for 50th Ave gas line realignment and issued an approval letter for this work to them. Submitted waste measurement system material management report for 2023. Submitted Aspen Waste Management Annual Report for 2023. Submitted environmental compliance monitoring and report as well to AEPA. Prairie Demolition started hauling materials from the El Dorado School demolition to our landfill. So that's ongoing. Fortis Alberta has started, they've issued construction for the lights along the Ring Road 50th and 43rd. They're updating their first calls right now and have everything staked out to get ready for construction. So that's going to be happening right away. We drafted a design for the trails for the FRIA grant. I did reach out to Weyerhaeuser again, but I haven't gotten a response. Not sure if one of you guys can give a push to Weyerhaeuser to respond to me about the FRIA grant for trails in Ivanhoe to CTC. That'd be great. Started the RFP for sidewalk and trails for this upcoming season. And I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, I did have that as on my question was the FRIA grant. We did have a meeting with Mr. McKay as well as seen Curtis, and kind of everyone was wondering what was happening with the project. But my understanding was that Jeff was waiting on something from us. I thought we'll reconnect again, and maybe we need to get together, all parties together, and get this going.
Yeah, that would be great. I think I've sent 2 requesting a meeting with him. So,
Okay. Okay.
But
Sure. Any questions? Go ahead, Rick.
I know I've bugged you about this before, Shelley, but you know, I walked down that block of mine and that piece of sidewalk right from the corner down to my house was done 2 years ago, just before I came on council, and it just continues to crack more. I think all of it is cracked right down the middle now, so half a block. I know you had said we're not requiring steel in the, except for driveways in the sidewalk, or are we requiring rebar throughout now?
last year we required rebar throughout. So now it's being reinforced with rebar.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I hope we see some better results, because that thing is just an absolute piece of junk. I mean, it's the grade is so steep, you're looking like you've had a few too many when you're trying to stay on the sidewalk. And like I say, it's got a crack right down the middle from people. You know, it won't hold up to a vehicle rolling up on the curb to park, is the bottom line. So anyway, yeah, if we can just make sure we've got our minimum design standards tight there, even the base, you know, if the base is junk, they should be pulling it out of there and putting a good compacted base in there. So anyway, just wanted to complain once again and make sure that we're on top of it, and we'll see some better results moving forward. It's just disappointing to see that money spent and, you know, the results only a couple of years later. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Any other questions, Councillor Manna?
Thank you, and thank you, Shelley, for the report. Just regarding the pothole filling, maybe there already is. Just wondering if there's a kind of a map and a timeline that we can put out to the community and saying, is it doable?
Currently, we've gotten some complaints on some major potholes, so we're kind of trying to deal with those ones first. And then we're going to be using our priority mapping for snow removal to kind of follow our routes and do all of town that way, to just be a little bit more strategic on our approach.
Okay, no, thank you.
But we can put something out for sure.
Yes, please, yeah, maybe that's the best. Thank you, Shelley.
Go ahead.
that triggered something for me, Councillor Gamana. Every time I turn left at the Scotiabank there, that swale that we have across the road, every year we're filling most of the edge of that thing because of potholes. I'm of the mind that our swales are too thin. When those tires go over there, they hit the edge, the asphalt edge, and the asphalt edge on the other side. And of course, that water ends up right in there and creating those holes every year. I'm wondering if we have a little bit of money, maybe in the sidewalk budget, I'd like us to consider widening one of those swales to see if it'll hold up. I think if we go, I realize you can't tie it into the curb there, but after you get off the curb, if we can go another foot on each side with concrete, because the concrete holds up. The concrete's not a problem. It's the asphalt right against it. I'm wondering if we have the opportunity, if we can pull that foot out on either side and pour concrete in there and post it, pin it, if we'd see better results. I know we don't know for sure that that's the issue, but again, we go back there and we spend a few hours all the way along there. It's major holes. There's got to be 8 across where you cross that road there. So just something to consider. Maybe next time you got an engineer hanging around, look at those, because our swales are very thin to begin with. It's the same thing that happens when you're at 50th and 50th there, and you're coming from the west and you're trying to turn right there. We get pothole after pothole right off the edge of that concrete. And that's what's the issue, is that transition there. I'd even like to see us look at pulling that out a foot maybe. But again, I'm not giving you a direction to go do it, but maybe just keep it in the back of your mind. And like I say, if you're rolling around with an engineer or something, see what their take is. But that's what I see is happening on that swale especially. Just the concrete doesn't support the tires. They bang on either side of it as they're going over it. So anyway.
I'll thank you for the question or comment. I'll look into it for sure.
And just a comment too, when it comes to the grading of the back alleys, the back alley that is north of Dairy Queen and kind of where Bourbon House and that is, we've had discussions about the condition of that road being built up. I had heard from a couple of residents that it's in bad shape right now. Again, and I thought that we rebuilt it or did some extensive work to it last year or something.
But you're speaking of 56th Ave, aren't you? Yeah. I'll go have a look at it. We did do work on it last year. So
Yeah, it might just be from, coming out of winter. We haven't had a lot of snow, but maybe just have a look at it again.
yeah, we'll go and do some grading in there and smooth it out.
Okay, perfect. If there's no other questions, thank you very much for your report. Next up is 11.3, growth services. Mr. Numbriai, you are behind that. I didn't know if you were here. Good morning, welcome.
Morning, Council. For the Growth Services Department report, I'll just start with economic development. So the Rural North Stream program remains active. It's doing well, receiving a lot of applications. So we're at number 223 employer applications received. But with that said, we did also receive a notice from the government of Alberta about a change that they're making to this immigration program, which does have a direct impact on how we run the program internally. The first change has to do with how the employers will not only be eligible if they have been in continuous and active operation in Alberta for a minimum of 2 years, which of course would impact all those startups that we see opening up in Baden Valley that want to take advantage of this program. If they haven't been operating for at least 2 years, then this would unfortunately not make them eligible to endorse employees. The second change is that an Alberta employee must have a minimum total gross annual revenue of $400,000 for the most recent fiscal year and employment of a minimum of 3 full-time employees in Alberta. So these two changes would have quite an impact. And we had a meeting with them last week as well, just to clarify on these stipulations. And we did confirm that this would affect prior endorsements and active endorsements as well. So everyone who endorsed previously and who are continuing to endorse will be impacted by this change. So we'll sort of see what happens moving forward when it comes to how we should change our processes internally to accommodate some of these changes and make sure that businesses are aware. We did reach out to the businesses. We sent out an email last week, a mass email to all of them, just to make them aware of the change, and then we'll continue cooperating with them as things move forward. Apart from that, we are working with KPMG to finalize the industry gap analysis and education needs assessment report. We have now received the final version and just going through it and making sure that it all stands with what we were hoping that they would do with our proposal. And once that's all done, that's when we can then work towards having them come before council for just a quick introduction about the report as well. From there, we do have education. And so with education, we are working with the Healthcare Academy on planning an information session on April 12th. It should be a great opportunity for us just to meet students, introduce ourselves to them, and as well introduce the University of Alberta to them, who help us with some of the research they do for their community reports. As well, we were informed by the Healthcare Academy that they have been receiving an overwhelming amount of applications, which I guess is a good problem to have. And so they will now be having 2 cohorts, one in April and another in June. And they will also be shifting to a blended learning platform, meaning that they will be doing for the theoretical part of their programming, they'll be doing that online, virtually. And then for the practicum, they'll be doing it at the lab. So, which is a shift from how they were doing it before. Apart from that, we're all also working with them in revising their agreement. It was coming up due, and so we just thought to work on that and just make sure we can accommodate for all these new cohorts that keep coming. Apart from that, just one quick change I wanted to add is that, you know, we had discussed doing an education business plan. We're just readjusting to education project management plan instead. The big implication is just the fact that the business plan, from what we're looking at and going through a lot of the business plan templates, is that just education just didn't fit so well within that template. Since of course it's not-for-profit, and so we just thought a project management plan made a bit more sense. We are also working with the Redden Valley and District Community Learning Association in developing an MOU just to strengthen our ties with them, and they are also part of the Campus Alberta Central member, and so both of us are basically community partners with Campus Alberta, so we just thought it made sense. Apart from that, we are also inviting education partners to the Chamber of Commerce trade show, also working on a few information items to include at the trade show, just so that we can try to publicize what we do, the CETC, to the best of our ability. And last but not least, we are continuing to work with the University of Calgary in developing an MOU. And we should receive something within the next few weeks and try and move forward with that as well. So that's basically it. Open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions? I'll go to Councillor Gamana first and then Councillor Sheriff.
Thank you, and thank you, Kundi, for the report. Just wondering regarding the rural renewal stream changes that have been announced. They are, like you're mentioning, really big changes. It's going to impact most of the businesses as well. So I reached out to our MLA. Still waiting for a call back, and wanted to discuss, why the changes happen, and what's the logic behind it as well. But I was wondering, there are many other communities that's on the same list. Maybe it's prudent not for yourself, but for me to reach out, politically, and figure out if they are facing the same challenges as we are in our community, which is we are probably gonna lose some of the new businesses that's gonna come to Drayton Valley, as well as some businesses that needed the help. They may not get the help that they need. So I maybe offline, I'll have a chat with you if you could let me know which communities that was on that call with you, or was it just Drayton Valley? And also maybe, to get some context so I can reach out to them as well.
Through your worship to Councillor Gamane. Yeah, so the meeting we had last week, this included all the designated communities participating in this program. So there were over 50 communities there, and they did remark on the same concerns you just brought up when it comes to just that attraction piece for businesses. And so, yes, this certainly is a big issue, and we can definitely discuss it offline and see what makes sense.
Thank you for that. Councillor Sheriffs?
I was just thinking about the Chambers Trade Show. I haven't seen very much advertisement for it, and there's actually very few people that know about it happening. So I was wondering if we could maybe, I don't know if I should talk to somebody.
Who sits
Or-
in the chamber? Oh, so
Yeah.
where it has their after, have you gone to the committee or the?
No,
meeting?
but I just remembered about it when Kundi
Oh.
was talking about it. So maybe if we can spread the word a little bit more somehow.
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Sheriffs, we'd be more than happy to talk to them and as well cross-promote on our platform as well, just to help them out. Yeah, we can certainly do that.
Have we been advertising the event for them?
So they have been solely advertising it.
Okay,
And for us, we're just, one of the people showing up to the event.
okay. Yeah, it might be good for us to be advertising as well and see what it means. I don't know if they're using the electronic sign or what, but maybe to reach out and let them know all of that. And we can give them a plug for sure. It's celebrating, right? What's that? Our electronic sign? Do you have a question in regards to the, no? Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, paint night. Instead of paint night, it was paint night. Yeah, that's quite a different, two completely different, I wonder if that's our fault that we forgot the T or Shelley? Oh, there's a problem with our sign? Oh. So yeah, anybody that's wanting to attend the ladies paint night, it is a paint night and not a paint night in the community. Amanda, maybe if you're here and you can put a plug out there and say, for those attending, it's paint night, not paint night. They might get a completely different clientele, maybe people that are struggling or looking for, but then maybe it'll be a great way to relieve any sort of emotional pain would be through painting. So you never know. I do have a couple questions in regards to our education. I think one of the reasons when we brought the healthcare aid program to the community was when we looked at the Healthcare Aid Academy, why they stood out so much was that in-person learning. And that was part of the agreement at the time, is that also it was bringing revenue to our learning center. So hearing that they're looking at moving that practicum portion to online is very disappointing. And I think before signing that agreement, I would have or urge a further discussion to say and remind them that that is why we chose the Healthcare Aid Academy, is that they promised us that how important that face-to-face learning was and that would never change. That was one of the things that they really bragged about when they wanted to be the provider that was giving the training, is that. So to hear that they're taking it away takes money out of our pocket, and it's just revenue for them and really isn't a fair partnership. So I'm not of the mind of signing any agreement till there's some wiggle room there. I think that if we have this many students that are interested, it's important, but it's also important because it's our program that we brought to the community. And if they want to be our partners, then I think that they still have to honor the agreement and the discussions that we had previously. We can't be offering, free space all the time and not making anything. We understand that the healthcare, industry is growing and things are changing, and we're excited to have the RN program. We're excited to have the healthcare aid students coming, but it can't continually be on our dime, especially when we're offering a zero fee tuition program with it. It's ridiculous, in my opinion, that they're trying to do this. So that's very important. I don't know how the rest of council feels, but I think don't sign the agreement till that changes. Go ahead, Councillor.
Yeah, especially the practicum.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's the practical application of what you've learned. To throw that online just doesn't make any sense to me either.
No, and they promised us over and over how it was important, and that's why we chose them. So they need to be reminded of why we chose them, and we can go with a different institute if that's not the case. We know it's in demand, and we have a list of institutes. We do. We have a list.
Yeah. So through to your worship, just to clarify on that. So the practical part will still be in person.
I'm sorry, not the practical, the
the
theory part.
theory,
The
yeah.
theory, yeah. Sorry, I got that backwards.
Yeah, and so in talking to them, they did say that, you know, one of the big reasons why the blended learning made more sense to them really had to do with finding tutors and educators. So finding those people that are available to train these students was really tough for them. And so I do know that was a very big consideration for making that move.
I think that, you know, if I'd like to see a shout out to the community looking for any nurses or, you know, anyone in the healthcare that might be willing to take a look at this program before they can't just say that. I think that they need to show the proof that they tried, just because the part of the program and why, like I said, was because of that component. And there might be nurses that are out there right now that are looking for a part-time employment, right, to be teaching, and it's a wonderful opportunity. You know, it employs our local residents. So that's something else that was important when we started this program, right? Okay, well, thank you very much for your report. It is lunchtime and lunch is here. So if everyone on council feels like we can blow through our council reports, then that's what we'll do right now. I'll start with Councillor Ballas. Do you have anything to report on your council report?
I have nothing to report.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And I think everyone's council reports are in the agenda. So let's report on only additions that you have, not go through your list. I'll start with Councillor Sheriffs.
I have a couple additions because on my report, I kind of put a quick rundown of the microsense replacements that will be coming up to Drayton Valley, about the air monitor systems that we have. But there's a couple of things that Yvonne called me about yesterday. The West Central Ayrshire Society is looking at putting a fence around their station. Do you know where the station is?
To Beelands.
Like
the field.
The west end of the Beelands. And I guess they're worried about some vandalism and stuff, and they're not sure how to go about if like it needs to be approved by council. I mean, they're paid for the fence and putting it up and stuff. Or if I said it probably would have to go through planning maybe, or I'm not sure. So if I could get some direction to forward it to them about placing that fence. They also want to do, so aside from the fence, they want to put like a poster or some kind of information about what that whole station is all about, because most people don't even know. Second of all, the placement of the station, Yvonne couldn't find any lease agreement with the town. They don't pay anything for the lease, and as far as she knows, it was kind of given by the town back in the day for them to place that station. And I have no idea, if we can look into if there is some kind of a lease agreement or if we can draft one up going forward, because I think that's sort of important to have.
Yeah.
And also, our joint council, county and OCHEES meeting. I have a little note here. It was brought up about the mutual aid agreement, if we have one, and none of us were really sure if we had one. If we can maybe, it's a little addition to my report. Do we?
I think, Wally, you kept little notes at the meeting of what the outcomes were, right? When it came to
did.
wildfire services, we were asking if there was an agreement in place or if there needed to be an agreement with OCHEES.
Well, what I said was just in general that, you know, typically we have mutual aid agreements. I can't remember the context of the question, but I don't imagine we have one with OCHEES.
No. Okay, and just a little addition to my council report notes to see if we would consider having one or drafting one up, or I don't know. That's all.
We can certainly look into that. Yep.
Okay, any other additions to, any other counselors that besides, I'll go to you in a minute, Amila, that had it in your reports? Did you have any additions to your reports? Sure, go ahead, Counselor Evans.
I'll try and keep this brief. Just update from the Sustainability Committee. We're reviewing the energy management plan that was put together, the year one, just to see if there's anything we can pull out of there that we can carry on with or address in the Sustainability Committee. We're also looking at the transportation review from 2012, just to see if it's worth bringing something to council for budget consideration for 2025, if we want to look at possibly being able to introduce that. I'll just be brief here. Also, the Eagle Point's Blue Rapid Parks Council for Earth Day, they're in conjunction with Pembina Pipelines, yes. They'll be bringing in a bunch of 55-gallon rain barrels. They're food grade rain barrels. They're pretty skookum from what I understand. And they're going to be selling those for $20 a piece. And Pembina is going to cover the other portion of the cost of those. So just wanted to get that out there for anyone who's interested on Earth Day, Monday, April 22nd. Lastly, I'll just say we're looking at a few other things. Home composting. I'll just leave it at that for now, since we're kind of want to get through it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gamana.
Thank you. Just going through the report, March 7th, I attended the ICS 402 council training, 11th property simulator, 12th economic development ad hoc committee, as well as youth advisory committee. On the 14th, hospitality and tourism. On 19th, health foundation, we discussed about the lab, the eSIM lab, which they are trying to fund that together with the hospital auxiliary. So they are having those discussions with the auxiliary as well as health foundation. There is a flow plan that's been proposed so far, hoping that they will get that ball rolling by probably end of summer this year. It need to be ready by September 2025 for the first cohort to have that eSIM lab used. And then it will be for another couple of years with the University of Calgary, but then the eSIM lab will stay there beyond that for the use of the hospital, as well as any other organizations that want to do any other programming, healthcare programming in the community. So that will be a great addition to our healthcare system in Drayton Valley. On the 21st RDN immigration info session I attended, was discussing about how to facilitate newcomers to communities in across Alberta. They've identified the needs and the challenges that a newcomer faces when they first move to a community, and then what kind of supports that needed in a community for them to come here, feel welcomed, and hopefully make some connections that they will stay here for their life, right? So we have a settlement committee in Drayton Valley that's been set up for handle most of these. So it was great information for me to take back to the settlement committee. On the 26th, joined council meeting and also attended the PBRRC. On 27th, as Councillor Evans mentioned, the sustainability committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And for myself, I've had several business meetings over the last couple of weeks. I attended the Spring Leaders Caucus, which was fantastic. It was an opportunity to engage with other municipalities, as well as great conversations with ministers. I'd like to send some follow-up letters to the ministers that Monica and I connected with. There was some, I guess, advocacy and some issues and grants and everything else that were discussed there. So I'd like just to follow up with where some of those are. I also had a mid-sized mayor's caucus meeting. We're still trying to determine what the MSI, what the loss to MSI and the replacement of the LGFF for communities of our size, mid-size rural communities looks like, and then to take that up and drive it up to push a little bit harder than Alberta Munis is pushing. Joint rec meeting with Ochese and Brazeau County, which was fantastic, as well as a joint recreation board. I attended the RMA conference as well. Another great conference. They always do a fantastic job. They had the panel of the ministers up there with Q&A, and their issues are always similar to our issues. They have a lot more roads and a lot more money, but it's the same questions and concerns that are happening at that table as well. And lastly, just out of those, both those caucuses, is just to encourage everyone, again, one of the things we talked about was for council, for administration and the community to get out there, take pictures and selfies of yourself and others standing in front of our infrastructure, and let's send them to our MP and to the federal government and start making a bit of a louder noise there, because that funding just keeps getting cut, and our problems just keep growing. And so I think we need to be loud when it comes to things like that, along with the increase to the carbon tax. But that's for another day. And with that, I'm looking for a member of council to make a motion to accept the department reports as well as the council reports as information. Oh, thank you, Monica. Councillor Sheriffs, thank you very much for that. And we will break for lunch at 12:12 and come back for 1 o'clock. And when we come back, we'll be going in to a couple closed decision items. We'll reconvene at 1, and then we'll move into closed for just a couple discussion items.